Chapter 426. Yunhai's expression changed as he transmitted, "How did we offend such a character? Dongbua, we need to escape, quickly." Shuang watched as a black-robed attendant rushed out of the carriage in the sky. The attendant suddenly turned into a black fog and charged towards him. After pondering for a moment, Shuang could guess the reason why the other party wanted to kill him. "It seems that I just glanced at him and angered him. But this is too overbearing. I was so far away from him, and I only glanced at him casually, and it was because of the expression in his eyes? Is that why he became so angry?" Dongbua Shuang was speechless. So overbearing. If this was the Calm Sea Prefecture capital or the Bloodshed God Palace, there would be plenty of people with powerful backgrounds. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so arrogant. Shuang inwardly muttered to himself. Even those with powerful backgrounds in the Calm Sea Prefecture capital or the Bloodshed God Palace were overbearing, but as long as they did not take the initiative to provoke them and merely glanced at them from afar, they would not offend them. After all, those places were filled with crooks and honest folk, and experts were as common as the clouds in the sky. If one were to fight and kill just because of a single glance, one might end up offending someone. On the other hand, in the capital of a starfield, the number of world deities in a starfield can be counted on one's fingers. Those with just a bit of background would be so arrogant. Dongbua Shuang felt helpless. He had long comprehended a grade 1 true meaning, was a realm lord, and was a world deity. How arrogant was he? How could he reveal a fawning, fearful, and respectful expression when facing someone with just a bit of background? Surrender. The black fog in the sky shrouded them, and an angry roar came from the black fog. Emperor Yunhai immediately dodged to the side, but Dongbua Shuang did not move from his original position. This caused the escaping Emperor Yunhai to become anxious. He transmitted a message, "Dongbua, run. If you're too slow, it'll be too late." The black fog descended, enveloping Dongbua Shuang. The temperature within the black fog rapidly plummeted, forming an icy aura that enveloped Dongbua Shuang and rapidly turned him into a statue. This black statue was incomparably sturdy. At the same time, the black fog quickly condensed into a human figure. It was the black-clothed attendant. The black-clothed attendant sneered at the human-shaped ice sculpture. "You can't even break my spell, yet you're still so arrogant." As he spoke, the black-robed attendant stretched out his hand. His palm expanded, wanting to grab the human-shaped ice sculpture. But at this moment, crack crack, the human-shaped ice sculpture began to crack, and the arm moved. Paw! The human-shaped ice sculpture's palm turned into a mirage. It was as fast as lightning and contained the profound mysteries of extreme piercing. At such a close distance, the black-clothed attendant didn't even have time to react before the slap landed on his face. With a bang, the black-clothed attendant was slapped to the ground. His head smashed into the street, causing the ground to tremble. The black-robed attendant's body trembled slightly, as if it wanted to disperse, but it still condensed. The human-shaped ice sculpture lifted its head. The ice on its face naturally shattered, revealing Dongbua Shuang's face. This level of icy aura was too weak. To the time-immemorial body, it didn't pose a threat at all. This. The green-haired man in the carriage in the sky was stunned. Then, he became even more furious. He immediately shouted, "Everyone, capture him." As soon as he finished speaking, just as the other black-clothed attendant was about to rush out, a starry blue-robed figure appeared in the carriage. It was also Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang swung his hand, slapping the black-clothed attendant's face at an equally fast speed. The black-clothed attendant didn't even have time to dodge. With the speed of the time-immemorial body combined with the profound mysteries of extreme piercing, how could the black-clothed attendant possibly dodge it? When this slap landed, the black-robed attendant felt his head explode, and his body slammed against the wheel of the carriage. Although his divine body was strong enough, it also twisted for a moment. In the end, it reformed, but for a moment, he was dazed. You, how did you?" The green-haired man in the carriage looked at Dongbua Shuang in astonishment. Then, he looked at Dongbua Shuang, who was on the street? Yes. There were two Dongbu Shui Yings. Both were dressed in starry blue robes, and they looked exactly the same. However, one of them was on the street below, while the other was on his carriage. Buzz! The green-haired man instantly activated the carriage's array. A layer of light formed around him, protecting his seat. The green-haired man's cold eyes stared at Dongbu Shuang, and his expression turned savage. You're quite powerful, aren't you? Quite arrogant, huh? However, this is the Mountain Wu Star Zone. In the Mountain Wu Star Zone, you dare to provoke me? There's no need to capture him alive. Kill him. The green-haired man said savagely. Yes. Yes. Yes, sounds of schwa 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 could be heard. This included the two black-robed attendants, who had regained their consciousness, and the 9 black-scaled mutated beasts that had been pulling the carriage. The 9 black-scaled mutated beasts instantly transformed into human forms. They were all men dressed in black armor, and the aura they emitted was much more ruthless than that of ordinary peak deities. Individually, the price of the black-scaled mutated beasts was lower than that of the tower tapir beast. However, the price of the 9 black-scaled mutated beasts was higher than the tower tapir beasts, and they were quite powerful as well. In an instant, the 11 subordinates of Dongbu Shuang rushed over and surrounded Dongbu Shuang. After all, he was the closest to their young master. Dongbu Shuang, who was standing beside the carriage, stretched out his right hand, and a fiery red spear appeared in his hand. Then, he swung it. With a single hand, he swung the spear as though he could wipe out an army of 1,000. For a moment, the surroundings seemed to be revolving faintly. As the spear swept out, the surroundings started to collapse. The might of the spear caused the expressions of the 9 black-scaled mutated beasts and the 2 black-robed attendants to change as they hurriedly dodged. The spear swept out. Pang, pang, pang. Fortunately, the 9 black-scaled mutated beasts were able to flee quickly. They were only affected by the aftershock of the spear and were sent flying backwards. The 2 black-robed attendants were also lucky enough to avoid the aftershock. Pooh! A single spear strike caused the 11 subordinates to flee in fear. Following that, the spear in Dongbu Shuiying's hand suddenly pierced towards the green-haired man sitting on the carriage. The spear stabbed out furiously, and the moment it struck out, it was the star meteor annihilation. Pooh! Even though the carriage was a treasure, its defensive arrays could not withstand Shui Ying's terrifying spear. Just a single spear strike was enough to pierce through the layer of light membrane. The green-haired man revealed a look of terror as he hurriedly dodged the attack. The spear's tip directly pierced into the seat beside him. The green-haired man was so frightened that he wanted to flee, and the 2 beautiful women beside him were also terrified. Trying to flee. A hand instantly reached out, grabbing the green-haired man's neck. The green-haired man was lifted up. Put down our young master. Far away from the carriage, the 2 black-robed attendants and the 9 black-scaled mutated beasts were panicking. If their young master were to die, they would all be buried with him. My father is the Soaring Cloud Lake Master, a world deity. The green-haired man hurriedly shouted. My father and the Starfield Patrol Master are good friends. I have a rank, so you cannot kill me. If you kill me, my father and the Starfield Patrol Master will not let you off. The entire Bloodshed God Palace will not let you off either. The green-haired man was truly panicking. Too powerful. This opponent was truly too powerful. The protective array of his carriage had actually been pierced through with a single spear strike. The green-haired man shouted, yet he did not dare to retaliate against Dongbu Shuang for fear of angering this terrifying and mysterious expert in front of him. Describing it all took a long time. In reality, the green-haired man had been riding the carriage with the 2 flirtatious women, waving his heart-branding whip at Dongbu Shuang, ordering his subordinates to capture Dongbu Shuang, and then Dongbu Shuiying's counterattack. Not even a breath's worth of time had passed. Interesting. That idiot Soaring Cloud Lake's young master has finally suffered. Some of the Bloodshed God Palace's soldiers were watching from afar, happily enjoying the show. The soaring Cloud Lake's young master has been captured. Quick, look! Many deities on the streets below had also noticed this scene. Yunhai anxiously transmitted, Dongbua, he has a rank. Let's hurry and leave. A rank? Soaring Cloud Lake's master. A world deity. The starry blue-robed Dongbua Shuang grabbed the green-haired man, a look of shock on his face. That's right. My father is the Soaring Cloud Lake's master, a world deity, the green-haired man hurriedly said. Hurry and release me. Dongbua Shuang, on the other hand, had a look of shock on his face. Will your father take revenge on me? Will he kill me? Before I die, should I drag you down with me? The green-haired man's eyes immediately widened. Don't, star. Chapter 427. This young master of the Soaring Cloud Lake was truly terrified. If he were to be killed, it would be too late even if this starry blue-robed youth paid with his life. Don't kill me, don't kill me. I'll give you whatever treasure you want, the green-haired youth said. Don't worry, my father will definitely not take revenge on you. He'll definitely, the soldiers of the Bloodshed God Palace laughed as they watched from afar. Many of them did not like this young master of the Soaring Cloud Lake and were happy to see him lose face. On the wide street, the distant Yunhai was still panicking when he suddenly felt himself being pulled into the mirage. Within the mirage. Let's hurry. Dongbua Shuang pulled Yunhai along as they traveled through the mirage at high speed. His mirage deity heart was only at the peak of the deity realm, but none of the surrounding deities could match up to him in terms of mirage deity heart. None of them could detect his presence in the mirage. His father is a world deity. If I'm not mistaken, he should be rushing over. Let's hurry, Dongbua Shuang transmitted. Dongbua, you're too daring. This is simply. Emperor Yunhai was ultimately a peak deity, so he could still transmit his voice through the mirage. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Dongbua Shuang grinned. Emperor Yunhai, on the other hand, was terrified. He had been in the deity world for so many years that he would hide far away from arrogant disciples with powerful backgrounds, not daring to offend them. Unlike Dongbua Shuang, who had just entered Mountain Wu City, he had already taught the young master of the Soaring Cloud Lake a lesson. He was too daring. Too daring. Yunhai, on the other hand, felt a sense of satisfaction amidst his lingering fear. At the same time, in another location in the Mountain Wu Star Field, there was an enormous lake and river in the starry sky, spanning hundreds of millions of kilometers. There were many cavern residences here, and a large number of deities resided there. This was one of the few peak superpowers in the Mountain Wu Star Field, the Soaring Cloud Lake. The master of the Soaring Cloud Lake was a Stage 1 world deity. In the entire deity world, a Stage 1 world deity could only be considered a middle-tier existence, but in a star field, he was an incredible character. Who dares to hurt my son? In the middle of the surging lake, a tall and sturdy figure appeared. He was covered in armor from head to toe, and he had a thick green beard and golden eyes. The green-bearded, burly man stood on the surface of the lake. His golden eyes were filled with anger. Although he had taught his child many times not to always show off outside, he was still angry. But when he heard that his son was asking for help, he was still anxious and angry. My Soaring Cloud Lake doesn't have a spatial passageway formation. The Soaring Cloud Lake master was rather anxious. He immediately stepped through the starry sky and hurried on his way. Many world deities would not construct a spatial passageway array in their lairs. Because once they provoked a powerful enemy, with the space channel array, the enemy could directly kill their way to their lair, and they would not even have time to escape. Without the space channel formation, they would have enough time to realize that the enemy was charging at them in advance, giving them enough time to escape. But at this moment, even a world deity would need 2 hours to reach Mountain Wu City without a space channel array. Within Mountain Wu City, Shui Ying's true body quickly fled with Yunhai, but his mirage body did not flee. Instead, he was stalling for time. Don't harm our young master. Everything can be discussed. Our soaring cloud lake can promise you anything, one of the black-robed attendants said. The other black-robed attendant nodded repeatedly. The young master's life was the most important. Sir, please be lenient. Please spare the young master's life. The two charming women beside him also begged for mercy. Dongbua Shuang held the fiery red spear in one hand and the green-haired man's neck in the other. He lifted him up and turned into a stream of light as he flew into the distance. The two black-robed attendants, the 9 black-scaled mutated beasts, and the two charming women all anxiously followed after him. Ha ha ha, this is going to be interesting. Very interesting. That idiot soaring cloud lake's young master is going to suffer this time. The Bloodshed God Palace soldiers watching from afar were all laughing. They were not afraid of the young master, but they usually could not stop him. After all, the soaring cloud lake's young master was even less afraid of them. So, Dongbua Shuang grabbed the green-haired man and flew at high speed. Where are you taking me? What are you trying to do? The green-haired man was terrified, but Dongbua Shuang ignored him. This made the green-haired man even more uneasy. Why did I meet such a powerful expert? My 2 attendants and the 9 mutated beasts were chosen by my father, and they're much stronger than ordinary peak deities. But against this mysterious person, they were easily swept away. Ordinary world deities did not have experts at the level of Dongbua Shuang. After all, with such strength, as long as he cultivated for a short period of time, he would have a chance of becoming an inner disciple under a powerful existence. At the very least, becoming a stage 4 world deity's disciple would be easy. This is it. Dongbua Shuang flew for a while before reaching his destination. Mountain Wu City spanned more than 100 million kilometers. There was a region that spanned just a few million kilometers. Here, there were many beautiful and magnificent caverns. In the sky above this region, there was a huge bloodshed floating in the air, enveloped by an enormous array. This was the Bloodshed region. Within the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace, any Starfield capital, prefecture city, or even the Bloodshed God Palace would have a Bloodshed region. The Bloodshed region is where the people of the Bloodshed Tavern and the soldiers of the Bloodshed God Palace reside, Dongbua Shuang thought. Fighting is prohibited here. Even ordinary world deities wouldn't dare to act recklessly here. Those who do are at least stage 3 world deities. Dongbua Shuang was very clear about the rules of the deity world. Pang! Dongbua Shuang landed on the street below, throwing the green-haired man to the side. At the same time, he said coldly, "Where's the heart-branding whip?" The green-haired man smiled. "I've kept it. How would I dare to use it in front of you? Take it out and give it to me," Dongbua Shuang ordered. This. The green-haired man hesitated. "Take it out." A cold glint flashed in Dongbua Shuang's eyes. The green-haired man obediently handed over the blood-colored whip. The heart-branding whip floated to Dongbua Shuang's side. At this moment, the 2 black-robed old men, the 9 black-scaled mutated beasts, and the 2 flirtatious women landed. They were muttering inwardly. This mysterious person's flying speed was too fast. Even after risking their lives, they were still a step too slow. Dongbua Shuang grabbed the blood-colored whip and fiercely lashed out. Paw! The whip lashed towards the green-haired man. Seeing this, the green-haired man was so frightened that he tried to dodge. However, his realm was too low compared to Dongbua Shuang. The whip was like a blood-colored phantom as it landed on his body. A crisp sound rang out. The blood-colored seals on the whip revolved. After it landed on the green-haired man's body, the green-haired man immediately rolled on the street. His body trembled as he cried out, "Spare me, spare me! Didn't you say that you wanted to capture me and beat me to death?" Dongbua Shuang lashed out again and again. Every lash of the whip would cause the green-haired man to howl in pain. Killing someone from the Bloodshed God Palace was a huge crime. But if it was merely a heavy injury, it was nothing much. After all, there were countless battles in the deity world, and heavy injuries were common. As long as he didn't die, it would be a small matter. Dongbua Shuang had previously been stalling for time. Now that everything was settled, he would naturally teach this soaring cloud-legged young master a harsh lesson. Sir, spare my clan's young master. This heart-branding whip will whip the young master to death. A black-robed attendant by the side anxiously said. However, they did not dare to interfere because the difference in strength was too great. Humph humph. Dongbua Shuang coldly snorted. He continued whipping the green-haired man. He could clearly see the extent of the green-haired man's injuries. Naturally, he wouldn't whip him to death. But he would definitely not let him have it easy either. Death could be spared, but punishment would not be spared. Paw! 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 Whip after whip lashed out, causing the green-haired man to roll on the ground and howl in pain. Ah, ah, ah. You've always whipped me wantonly, but now you know what the heart-branding whip feels like. Dongbua Shuang coldly said, this heart-branding whip belongs to you. Spare my life. The soaring cloud lake young master was on the verge of collapse. Stop! A furious roar could be heard from afar. A group of deity world soldiers flew over, led by a golden armored commander. These soldiers all emitted extraordinary auras, and it was as if they had faintly formed a single entity. Dongbua Shuang glanced at them. From their armor, he could determine that they were soldiers from the Bloodshed God Palace. The golden-armored general's eyes were filled with rage and murderous intent. Commander, Sir Commander, the two black-robed attendants shouted. They're so slow. Dongbua Shuang glanced at them. He had expected that the world deity would arrive first. It seemed that the soaring Cloud Lake Master's territory did not have a spatial tunnel array. He would have to travel slowly. Chapter 428. Sir Commander, please save our young master, a black-robed attendant shouted. Big Brother Zhua. The soaring Cloud Lake's young lord, who was wailing on the ground, immediately raised his head and cried for help. Brother Mei Yang, don't be anxious. The golden-armored commander led a group of deity world soldiers as he transmitted over. At the same time, he glared angrily at Dongbua Shuang. Hurry up and surrender. Dongbua Shuang grinned at him before raising the blood-colored whip in his hand. Stop, the golden-armored commander shouted. Paw! The blood-colored whip in Dongbua Shuang's hand landed on the body of the young master of the soaring Cloud Lake. The young master immediately howled, his body trembling, spare me, spare me. Save Brother Mei Yang, the golden-armored commander ordered. So. The group of deity world soldiers charged down. At the same time, their armors were faintly covered in deity imprints that linked their energies together as one. Every single one of these deity world soldiers had an aura that was much stronger than that of ordinary peak stage deities. This was the effect of the army array that had been personally set by His Majesty the Bloodshed God Palace. Dongbua Shuang did not obstruct them. Instead, he took a step back and dodged the charge of the deity world soldiers. The group of soldiers immediately moved to protect the young master of the soaring Cloud Lake. Brother Mei Yang, are you all right? The golden-armored commander landed and looked at the green-haired young master. Big Brother Zhua. The green-haired young master's body was still trembling. He turned to look at the distant Dongbua Shuang, his expression savage as he roared, Big Brother Zhua, Jin Mei Yang, have never suffered such pain in my entire life. That's the heart-branding whip. That fellow has whipped me more than 20 times. Ah, it hurts. Damn, I must kill him. No, I must capture him alive. I must use the heart-branding whip to whip him to death. Brother Mei Yang, rest assured. I'll definitely capture him alive and let you vent your anger, the golden-armored commander said. You sure talk big. In the distance, Dongbua Shuang casually waved his whip. Paw! A crisp sound rang out in the void, and everyone turned to look at him. Dongbua Shuang coldly said, if I'm not mistaken, you should be a commander of the Mountain Wu Star Field's patrol army, right? As a member of the patrol army, instead of maintaining the order of the entire star field, you only know how to act like a tyrant. Is my tyranny something you can control? The golden-armored general sneered. Which law forbids me from being tyrannical? It's true that there aren't any laws against it, but you worked so hard to ascend to godhood and become a commander of the patrol army, and yet, you chose to bully the weak. To be honest, I really look down on you. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. The golden-armored commander's eyes flashed with a cold light. The more arrogant a person was, the more they would disdain bullying the weak. However, Jin Meiyang's father was the master of Soaring Cloud Lake, a world deity. He held an important position in the entire Mountain Wu star field, and even the Starfield Patrol Master addressed him as a brother. Of course, he had to coax this young master. If there came a day when the master of Soaring Cloud Lake made a breakthrough and became a Stage 2 world deity, as long as he said a few words to him, he would most likely be able to help his realm rise once more. This foolish brat. The golden-armored commander was inwardly resentful. I want to be arrogant, but I can't take that final step to become a world deity. I'm just a peak stage deity. Everyone here is a peak stage deity. If I don't build a good relationship with world deities, how am I supposed to rise to such a high position? Impudent. Shut up. The soldiers of the Bloodshed God Palace angrily shouted. The golden-armored commander sneered as he looked at Dongbua Shuang. Your mouth is quite formidable, but it's a pity that you dared to touch someone from my patrol army. You're seeking death. Brothers, go. Capture him alive. Yes. At that moment, the large group of deity soldiers behind him flipped their hands, taking out chains. Hoo, this team of 30 soldiers from the Bloodshed God Palace all had deity inscriptions appearing on their armor, and their auras explosively surged. All of them turned into streams of light as they surrounded Shuang. At the same time, they threw out the shackles in their hands. For a moment, a total of 30 shackles crisscrossed, forming an inescapable net that enveloped Shuang in an attempt to bind him. These chains were a special weapon used by the army. Once bound, one's deity energy and true deity heart would be sealed, making it impossible to escape. I've heard that the legions of the Bloodshed God Palace are very powerful. Dongbua Shuang thought. This patrol army is considered the lowest grade 3 legion in the Bloodshed God Palace. Let me have a taste of their strength first. The legions of the Bloodshed God Palace were divided into 3 classes according to their rank. Every starfield had a patrol army, and they were under the command of the Starfield's Patrol Master. They were personally recruited by the Starfield's Patrol Master. Even my father doesn't dare to hit me like this. The green-haired male gritted his teeth as he watched the group of deity soldiers surround him. Capture him, capture him. Once I capture him, I'll definitely, this. The 2 black-robed attendants and the golden-armored commander watched in shock. The starry blue-robed young man wielded a long spear, and he was either sweeping, stabbing, smashing, or shaking the chains. Even though the 30 chains were attacking him at the same time, they were all easily blocked by him. At the same time, Dongbua Shuang charged towards the nearest deity soldier. The other soldiers tried their best to stop him, but to no avail. How is this possible? How can he fight against an entire team by himself? The golden-armored commander was shocked. As a commander, he was in charge of 300 soldiers. But without the permission of the patrol master, he could not mobilize all of his soldiers. He could only mobilize a small team, and this was his personal guard. Even so, this small team had a total of 30 soldiers. Pang! Hong! The might of Dongbua Shuaying's spear swept out. One after another, the deity soldiers turned into streams of light before being sent flying. They were either sent flying into the sky or smashed into the streets. This scene caused many passers-by to sigh in shock. These soldiers are all ordinary peak stage deities. But when they wear their armor, their strength is actually 1, allowing them to unleash the power of a peak deity. Dongbua Shuang sighed inwardly. Furthermore, my attacks have been guided into the void by the arrays on their armor, allowing me to unleash 50% of my strength. Who would have thought that these soldiers wouldn't even spit out blood? This is merely the lowest ranked legion, and a small team at that. I'm afraid I might not even be able to kill a single one of them even if I used my full strength. A third-grade legion of the Bloodshed God Palace was actually so powerful. It was said that second-grade legions were meant to deal with world deities. Xiao. Dongbua Shuang charged towards the green-haired male. Quick, protect me. The green-haired male was incomparably terrified. The golden-armored commander immediately pulled out the saber by his waist. Dongbua Shuaying's spear was like a huge python. As it clashed against the saber, Qi sound could be heard. An unseen gravitational force caused the saber and the spear to stick together. Following that, the spear spun and struck the chest of the golden-armored commander. The golden-armored commander's eyes widened as he was sent flying backwards. The gap between them was too huge. In terms of comprehension, he was far weaker than Dongbua Shuang. No. The green-haired male turned into a stream of light as he attempted to escape. The heart-branding whip appeared in Dongbua Shuaying's left hand. He directly lashed out with it. The blood-colored whip once again lashed against the green-haired male's body. The green-haired male was directly whipped to the ground, howling in pain. You really don't know how to repent. You've just been rescued, yet you still want to capture me. You even want to use the heart-branding whip to whip me to death. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. What a pity. You thought that these soldiers could save you, yet they couldn't save you. The group of soldiers had gathered together, and they were all looking at each other. Even though they were unwilling to admit it, they were still not a match for this mysterious starry blue-robed teenager. He's very cunning, and he's very clear about the laws of the Bloodshed God Palace. The golden-armored commander frowned. Even though he acted, he didn't kill anyone. That way, he wouldn't be violating the laws of the Bloodshed God Palace. Ying. Suddenly, a powerful aura erupted from the green-haired male's body, causing Dongbua Shuang to be slightly startled. He saw a will descend, engulfing the world before condensing into a figure by his side. It was a tall and sturdy male with a thick green beard. This green-haired male's golden eyes were looking at Dongbua Shuang. Father, the green-haired male said. Your combat power isn't bad. The green-haired male smiled as he looked at Dongbua Shuang. Greetings, world deity. Dongbua Shuang was quite courteous. The figure in front of him was merely a long-distance projection. Clearly, his true body was still rushing over and had yet to arrive here. Father, hurry up and capture him. Capture him. I want to torture him, the green-haired male said. Shut up. The green-haired male coldly looked at his son. The Soaring Cloud Lake's young master was startled, and he didn't dare to say anything else. Capture what? His true body has long since entered the Bloodshed region. The one in front of you is merely a mirage body. Why are you still trying to capture him? The green-haired male said coldly. The Soaring Cloud Lake's young master was startled. The group of soldiers by his side, including the golden-armored commander, were all startled. What? Just a mirage body? As expected of a world deity. Dongbua Shuang smiled. Chapter 429. Previously, during the conflict, Shui Ying's true body had long since pulled Yunhai and rushed towards the Bloodshed region in the mirage at the fastest speed possible. As for the mirage body, it had carried the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master as it fled in a big circle. Its flying speed was only slightly faster than that of the black-robed attendant. One had to know that Dongbua Shuang had a high realm, created his own secret skill, and learned many world deity-grade secret techniques. His speed of escaping was more than twice as fast as the black-clothed attendant. His true body was safe. Only then did Dongbua Shuang have the mood to play with them. Furthermore, my little friend's strength isn't bad. I'm just a projection, so I'm afraid I won't be able to do anything to you, the green-bearded man said with a smile. World deity, you praise me too much, Dongbua Shuang immediately replied. The Soaring Cloud Lake's young master was so angry that his teeth itched. He had been whipped so many times, yet his father didn't even try to defend him. This time, I still have to thank you for teaching this brat a lesson. Humph, this brat can only be arrogant in the mountain Wustar field. If he had dared to do such a thing in the prefecture capital, I'm afraid he wouldn't have lived past a day. The green-bearded man looked at his son and coldly snorted. Mei Yang, this little friend was lenient this time. If he had been a bit more ruthless, you would have died. I have a rank. He wouldn't have dared to kill me, the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master couldn't help but retort. Humph, a rank? What if you met a criminal wanted by the Bloodshed God Palace? The green-bearded man asked. How many criminals would dare to enter the city? The Soaring Cloud Lake's young master muttered. You're still so stubborn. What if you met a good friend of yours who was beaten to death by you? What if someone wants your life? The green-bearded man shouted, what if you meet an existence that is much more powerful than me, your father? The Soaring Cloud Lake's young master didn't say anything, but he was clearly unconvinced. The green-bearded man sighed inwardly. He had no other choice. He had left a keepsake on his son. If he wanted to, he could know his son's movements at any time. If he really encountered danger, he could also send a projection down. Although the projection would not be suppressed like it was in the material world, because it did not have world deity energy or a soul, it could only descend from an ultra-long distance. Hence, the power that it could display was limited. Without a soul, it could only control a small portion of the power of the world from an ultra-long distance. It was very likely that it would barely reach the level of a world deity. He was not lying when he said that he might not be able to deal with Dongbui Shuang. If I'm not wrong, little friend, you should be preparing to participate in the 10,000 flower feast in 300 years, right? The green-bearded man said. World God's guess is really accurate. Dongbui Shuang was slightly surprised. I am indeed going to participate in the myriad flower feast. There was no need to hide this. Huh, you lectured my son. Instead of running out of the city, you entered the Bloodshed region. The man with the thick azure beard said, the Bloodshed region is very safe, but even renting it costs at least 1 god crystal a year. No one would want to stay here for a long time. Moreover, once you leave the Bloodshed region, I can easily capture you alive. So, the biggest possibility is to participate in the myriad flower feast. Of course, there's another possibility. That is, you also have a rank. Dongbui Shuang laughed and didn't explain further. His plan was to cultivate in the Bloodshed region within Mountain Wu City for 300 years. After that, he would directly participate in the myriad flower feast. The Starfield preliminaries would be held in the safest place, the Bloodshed region. As expected of a world god. If there's nothing else, world god, I'll take my leave first. Dongbui Shuang said. N. The green-bearded man nodded. Dongbui Shuang looked at the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master and grinned. Immediately, his body dissipated. Since it was a mirage body, it dissipated with a single thought. It's really a mirage body? The Soaring Cloud Lake's young master's eyes widened. After fighting with him for a while, he still said that he wanted to capture him alive? I didn't expect that the one fighting with us was just a mirage body. Commander Zhua shook his head and sighed. Inside Mountain Wu City, the Starfield Patrol's mansion. A green-bearded man and a skinny man walked side by side. Brother Guan. The green-bearded man shook his head and said, my son, Mei Yang, has been kidnapped. Even after being whipped so many times with the heart-branding whip, you still didn't help. Help? How? The skinny man stared at him. That young man called Dongbui didn't break any laws. I'm a dignified Starfield Patrol. Why would I ignore my status and bully a young man? Moreover, Brother Jean, that son of yours is too arrogant. It's better to let him suffer a little. Tell me the truth. The green-bearded man said, I arrived late, so I didn't get to see that Dongbui's real body. Tell me, how strong is he? Does he have some sort of background? The skinny man smiled and said, looks like you're quite smart. Yes, the moment both sides clashed, that Dongbui's real body brought his companions and rushed to the Bloodshed region. As for this kid called Dongbua, I don't have a deep understanding of the Tao of time, but I can see that he has cultivated for no more than 5,000 years. No more than 5,000 years? The green-bearded man was shocked. He's that strong? Yes, he's too young. Moreover, his strength is too high. He even has a world deity-grade secret technique. The skinny man laughed. With such a realm and such a young age, it wouldn't be difficult for him to become a disciple of a stage 4 world deity. Moreover, he has cultivated a world deity-grade secret technique. Do you think it's so easy to learn a world deity-grade secret technique? He definitely has some sort of background. Brother Jean, you've been so polite to him, so you should have noticed some problems, right? The green-bearded man nodded. I'm just guessing. His strength is so high, and he's so calm when facing me. If he doesn't have some sort of confidence, he won't be able to remain calm in front of me. Ha ha ha. The skinny man laughed. Brother Jean, you should hurry up and teach your son a lesson. This time, he only suffered a little. I'm afraid he'll lose his life next time. Understood. The green-bearded man nodded. In fact, he had already given strict orders to his son to not leave the Mountain Wu starfield. Within his own starfield, the possibility of his son provoking an existence that he couldn't afford to offend was extremely low. However, the matter with Dongbua Shuang still made his heart tighten. This person called Dongbua, I'm guessing that he's the disciple of a powerful existence. The skinny man said, this time, he's here to participate in the Myriad Flower Feast. The Myriad Flower Feast, when the time comes, many talented deities will appear. Even the disciples of powerful existences will participate, including the disciples of powerful existences. Right, let's see how strong Dongbua is during the Myriad Flower Feast. The green-bearded man laughed. While these two world deities were paying attention to Dongbua Shuang, another world deity was paying attention to him as well. Within a temporal temple in Celestial Starfield Celestial City. Who is he? The Blackbone Mountain's mountain master entered a palace hall. A scene was floating in mid-air within the hall. It was the scene of Dongbua Shuang whipping the taper beast on Ice Iron Planet. The Blackbone Mountain's mountain master was a handsome young man. Of course, this was only one of his bodies. The other body was a Blackbone body, which was extremely ugly. You dare to recklessly attack my Blackbone Mountain's base. Humph, I don't dare to provoke an existence like the White Sand City Lord. However, you're just a puny deity. I really want to see what kind of background you have. The Blackbone Mountain's mountain master sneered. He rewound time to look at the scene of Dongbua Shuaying's battle. However, it wasn't enough to determine Dongbua Shuaying's identity. In the entire deity world, there weren't many who knew of Dongbua Shuaying. Blackbone Mountain's mountain master. A cold yet powerful voice reverberated within the palace hall. To purchase information on his identity, you'll need 500,000 deity crystals. 500,000 deity crystals? The Blackbone Mountain's mountain master's voice turned sharp. Temporal temple, are you sure? Just information on a deity's identity costs 500,000 deity crystals. What a joke. As a stage 1 world deity, he had only managed to accumulate 2 million deity crystals after so many years. One had to know that the great demon god was a stage 2 world deity. Although the sorcerer god was a stage 1 world deity, he was a lord of a material world. Even he had only managed to accumulate 10 million deity crystals. Do you wish to purchase it? The cold yet powerful voice asked. The Blackbone Mountain's mountain master gritted his teeth in anger. He could only turn around and leave. Buy? Buy my ass. 500,000 deity crystals. That was nearly a quarter of his wealth. It wasn't worth it just to vent his anger. Moreover, just information on his identity is so expensive. What kind of background does he have? A personal disciple of a powerful existence? The son of a stage 4 world deity? The Blackbone Mountain's mountain master shuddered at the thought of it. Information on his identity was so precious that it indirectly proved the identity of this person. Why would such a powerful person need to spend so much effort to attack my base? Couldn't he have just sent someone to pass a message? The Blackbone Mountain's mountain master shook his head inwardly. He decided to throw this matter to the back of his mind. Just information on his identity was worth 500,000 deity crystals. Too terrifying. Mountain Wu City, Bloodshed Region. Within one of the caverns, Dongbua Shuang and Yunhai were both cultivating. Many people in Mountain Wu City were talking about how the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master had been whipped by the heart-branding whip, how a group of soldiers from the patrolling army had been easily trampled, how the Soaring Cloud Lake's master had personally arrived and chatted with that mysterious expert called Dongbua, and how this person called Dongbua would participate in the Myriad Flower Feast 300 years from now, all these years. The Soaring Cloud Lake's young master's reputation was too bad. This time, he was finally thrown onto the streets and whipped by the heart-branding whip. Everyone was so happy that the name Dongbua began to spread. As it spread, Dongbua Shuang became quite famous in Mountain Wu City. He could be considered a powerful person. The fact that he dared to whip the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master proved his strength. Time passed, year by year, as the Myriad Flower Feast approached, the entire Mountain Wu City began to stir. In fact, it wasn't just Mountain Wu City. Every starfield within the Bloodshed God Palace's territory was in an uproar. After all, this was the biggest grand event in the entire deity world. A grand event attended by deities, the Myriad Flower Feast, was about to begin. Finally, there were only 3 days left until the starfield selections of the Myriad Flower Feast. Chapter 430. Shuang and Yunhai walked out of their rented cavern dwelling. With a glance, they could see many streams of light streaking across the sky. Many deities were streaking across the sky. It's so lively. Shuang sighed in praise. How could it not be lively? The biggest event in the entire deity world is about to begin, and the participants can be reported 3 days before it begins. Yunhai sighed. Just thinking about it makes me excited. The entire deity world is vast, and countless deities with the most dazzling innate talents are participating. First comes the starfield selections, then the bloody selections in the prefectural cities, and finally, only a few will be able to enter the Bloodshed God Palace to participate in the final competition. After a series of rounds, those who can reach the end can even enjoy the Myriad Flower True Fruit. They can easily become the disciples of powerful existences. I've even heard that His Majesty of the Bloodshed God Palace will accept disciples. When will I be so dazzling? Sigh, I'm still too ordinary amongst the countless deities. Dongbua Shuang did not say anything. He had no way of consoling Yunhai. After all, Yunhai was indeed too ordinary in the entire deity world. The deity world was too big. A planet with a diameter of tens of thousands of kilometers might only give birth to a single deity, but there were trillions of deities in an entire starfield. What about the entire deity world? To those transcendents and those newly ascended deities, Emperor Yunhai was indeed formidable. But in the entire deity world, he was too ordinary. Furthermore, he was too old to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast. The two flew side by side. In the distance, they could see a majestic palace. The main entrance of the palace was open, revealing a wide golden passage. Countless deities had already gathered around them, yet not many dared to walk through this passage. After all, they could enter the palace through this passage and report their names. They could participate in the Starfield selections 3 days later. Someone's gone up. Yunhai pointed at the golden passageway. Shuang looked over as well, only to see an old man dressed in simple clothes amidst the sea of people laughing as he stepped onto the golden passage. For a moment, the surrounding 10 million deities were all staring at this old man. Everyone was discussing in low voices, and some of the deities even recognized this old man. They began sharing information about this old man with the surrounding people. However, it did not cause much of a commotion. The old man quickly reached the end of the golden passageway and entered the palace. I'll remind you again. You'll only have a chance of surviving the preliminaries if you're at least at the peak of the deity level. A grand and cold voice came from within the palace. Since you have entered the palace, you must participate in the battle. If you insist on giving up, you will be whipped 100 times as punishment. Very soon. More people walked along the golden passageway towards the palace, one after another, because the names would only be reported 3 days before the preliminaries. Today was the first day, so naturally, there would be the most people. Don't look at how many people are joining the battle. In midair, Yunhai watched from afar and laughed. In the end, there are very, very few who can pass the preliminaries. Those who participate in the battle are usually at the peak of the deity level. He was barely able to survive. Perhaps saving his life was not a big deal, he had to win. I remember that only 12 deities passed the preliminaries of the celestial phenomenon galaxy. Of course, even if they couldn't pass the preliminaries, it's still something to be proud of to be able to participate in one of the battles. At the very least, they've participated in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast, even if they didn't even pass the preliminaries. Dongbua Shuang laughed. He wasn't in a hurry to register, because once he did, he would have to wait inside the palace for the preliminaries that would take place 3 days later. One deity after another went to register. Shuang was watching from midair. Just half an hour had passed, and there were already more than 160 people who had signed up. One had to know that only 12 deities had passed the preliminaries in the previous celestial phenomenon galaxy. Mountain Wu star field probably wouldn't have such a high number either. Clearly, most of them had no hope. Dongbua Shuang was suddenly startled. Another figure descended from the golden passageway. This time, it was a red-haired man with half a mask on his face. There was a saber at his waist, and a red ribbon was tied to the saber's hilt. He walked silently on the golden passageway, but an invisible baleful aura pervaded the air. Many deities in the surroundings felt their hearts clench as they felt a faint sense of fear. What a powerful baleful aura! Dongbua Shuang looked at the red-haired man and exclaimed, I didn't expect the Mountain Wu star field to have such an expert. Many of the deities in the surroundings don't seem to recognize this person, Yunhai said. He's probably low profile, and his reputation isn't too high. Although his baleful aura is very dense, it doesn't mean that he's strong. Dongbua Shuang nodded lightly. However, this was also the deity with the densest baleful aura he had ever seen. He continued watching for half a day. He raised his head and looked at the sky. The distant sun was gradually setting. The sun was always in a fixed position. The reason why it was setting was because the enormous Mountain Wu city had a slow rotation, just like the sun itself. I'll go in first, Dongbua Shuang said to Yunhai. Dongbua, your strength is superb. You'll definitely pass the preliminaries. When the time comes, I'll be waiting for you to bring me to the prefecture city, Yunhai laughed. Dongbua Shuang transformed into a streak of light and landed on the golden passageway in the distance. It's him. It's that mysterious expert called Dongbua. He's Dongbua. The one who whipped the soaring Cloud Lake's young master on the street? Yes, that's him. I heard that this Dongbua's strength is extremely high. Even the joint forces of the patrolling army were easily defeated by him. For a time, the surrounding people were discussing fervently. Many of them didn't know that Dongbua Shuang had whipped the soaring Cloud Lake's young master with his heart-branding whip. As Dongbua Shuang walked on the golden passageway and listened to the discussions around him, he couldn't help but laugh. It seemed like his reputation was quite big. Dongbua Shuang swept his gaze across and saw the soaring Cloud Lake's young master, who was surrounded by a group of subordinates. The soaring Cloud Lake's young master had an ugly expression on his face. Humph. Seeing Dongbua Shuang look over, the soaring Cloud Lake's young master snorted coldly. Dongbua Shuang didn't seem to care. He continued walking and soon entered the palace. Inside the palace hall, a general was sitting on a throne, and there were soldiers standing around him. Isn't this Dongbua? With your strength, you won't have any problem staying alive. The general smiled as he tossed out a plaque. Dongbua Shuang immediately caught it. There were talisman patterns and numbers on the plaque, which represented 528. This was also the order of the preliminaries. Please wait here for a moment. A soldier immediately led the way. The palace hall was huge. On the left side of the palace hall, there was a large group of deities present. These were the participants of the Starfield preliminaries. Dongbua Shuang swept his gaze across and saw a red-haired man with a mask on his face. The red-haired man was sitting in a corner and didn't seem to be close to anyone. With such a heavy baleful aura, the other deities weren't too willing to get close to him. Dongbua Shuang walked over and casually chose a seat before sitting down. "Are you Brother Dongbua?" A deity immediately came forward to curry favor with him. Whipping the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master had indeed made Dongbua Shuang quite famous in Mountain Wu City. Time continued to pass. The sky had also turned dark. Dongbua Shuang and the others were here, and there were also attendants serving them fruit wine and delicacies. "Wow! This is, Lord Patrol Master is accompanying us." Suddenly, a commotion could be heard from outside. Dongbua Shuang and the others within the palace hall could not help but look outside through the huge door. They saw a handsome youth in white flying over. Beside him was a beautiful woman, and beside her was a skinny man. This skinny man was none other than Mountain Wu City's Lord Patrol Master. The Patrol Lord and the beautiful madam naturally released their auras. The beautiful madam's aura was even more terrifying. With a sweep of her gaze, countless deities descended from the sky. None of them dared to linger in midair. So powerful. Dongbua Shuang was shocked. This woman seems to be a stage 2 world deity. His true body was a world deity, so his vision was naturally sharper. The Lord Patrol Master even seemed to be fawning over this beautiful woman. "You guys stay here," the beautiful woman said to the back. Behind her was a group of maids in white. Each of these maids was extremely beautiful and had an extraordinary aura. The handsome youth in white landed on the golden passageway, while the beautiful woman and the Lord Patrol Master followed behind him. The three of them proceeded forward and quickly entered the palace. "Lord Patrol Master." The officer handing out the talisman stood up. "Don't mind me. Continue with your work," the Lord Patrol Master ordered. Patrol Master Guan, His Highness randomly chose a starfield to participate in the Myriad Flower Feast. He chose your Mountain Wu Star Field. Everything will be done according to the normal rules, the beautiful woman beside him ordered. "Understood," the Lord Patrol Master replied. The beautiful woman nodded lightly and looked at the officer. The officer was startled, but he quickly reacted and threw out a talisman. The beautiful woman passed the talisman to the handsome youth in white and said, "Your Highness, the preliminary talisman has been obtained. Do you want to rest now, or? Didn't you say that everything will be done according to the normal rules? I will wait here." The handsome youth in white was like a 10,000-year-old glacier. His voice was ice-cold. "Wait here for the preliminaries to begin." "Yes." The beautiful woman nodded. The large group of deities standing on the left side of the palace felt their hearts tremble. Anyone with a bit of insight could see that this beautiful woman was much stronger than the Lord Patrol Master. Yet, she seemed to be just a subordinate of this handsome youth in white. Who is this? The deities sighed inwardly. However, none of them dared to say anything for fear of offending her. Even a fool could see that this person in front of them had an incomparably terrifying background. The 15th chapter, Deity World's Newcomers, officially began. The new chapter had begun. Star. Chapter 431. The handsome white-robed youth walked to the left side of the hall and chose a random seat to sit down. He closed his eyes and meditated, not speaking to anyone. His entire body exuded an icy aura, as if he was a 10,000-year-old block of ice. His icy aura was rather reserved, but it contained a haughty aloofness that kept others at a distance. Interesting. Dongbua Shuang glanced at the handsome white-robed youth, then picked up his wine cup and chatted with his companion. "You flatter me." There are so many experts in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast that I'm nothing compared to. Being able to pass the Starfield preliminaries is already a great stroke of luck. If Brother Dongbua's strength can't even pass, then there's no hope for us. Brother Dongbua, don't be so humble. Time passed. Day and night, day and night. For deities, a mere 2 or 3 days was indeed a very short period of time. More and more people signed up for the Starfield preliminaries, and the number had long since surpassed 1,000. However, the most conspicuous ones were still the red-haired man and the handsome white-robed youth with a terrifying background. The red-haired man was still exuding a baleful aura, and no deity was willing to approach within 30 meters of him. Everyone, everyone. A scarlet-armored general walked over and said in a clear voice, "The sky has darkened, and the Starfield preliminaries will begin tomorrow morning. Now, everyone, please announce your name." Tong Ya. Wan Feng. Sun Qiu. The scarlet-armored general recorded everyone's names, then quickly walked up to the red-haired man who was exuding a baleful aura. The red-haired man raised his head, his expression as cold as ever beneath his half-mask, Shuaiyun. A moment later, he arrived in front of the handsome white-robed youth. "May I know your name, Your Highness?" The scarlet-armored general asked politely, his back even bending as he bowed. "Seventh Mayu." The handsome white-robed youth replied calmly as he looked at the general. Dongbua Shuang smiled as he heard this. What a strange name. Soon, it was Dongbua Shuaying's turn. Dongbua Shuang said directly. After recording everything, the scarlet-armored general smiled and said, "Everyone, rest well and prepare. The Starfield preliminaries will begin at dawn. When the time comes, I will announce your names. Once you hear your names, you can go up and fight. Hurry up, the Starfield preliminaries are about to begin. Hurry up." Within Mountain Wu City, immortals rushed over from all directions, heading towards the Bloodshed region to watch the battle. It's a grand event that happens once every 10 million years. Only the most dazzling and powerful divine-level experts are qualified to participate in the battle. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. Good wine is needed to watch a grand event. Look, what's this? Winter fire? That's great. You can give me half of it. At this moment, the area where the battle was about to take place in the Bloodshed region was already filled with people. Countless deities gathered in all directions. The sky was just beginning to brighten, and countless stars could still be seen in the sky. However, the esteemed guests had already arrived. As the Starfield Patrol Commander, Patrol Master Guan naturally sat in the main seat. There was also a throne beside him that was almost on the same level as him. That throne belonged to the beautiful woman. Below them, there were many other thrones. There was a total of 5 world deities and 1 peak deity. The only peak deity was a smiling black-robed old man. "General 2, it's been a long time since you came to my soaring cloud lake. I've invited you so many times, but you never came." The soaring cloud lake master smiled. "General 2, I just obtained a barrel of good wine. It was bought by my son at a high price in the prefecture city. I've always been reluctant to enjoy it. I've been waiting for you." General 2, the 5 world deities below were all trying to curry favor with the peak deity black-robed old man. Naturally, they were all transmitting messages to him, to which the black-robed old man responded with a smile. Patrol Master Guan, who was sitting on the main seat, sneered when he saw this. He then said in a clear voice, "Brother 2, you've cultivated for so many years, yet you still haven't stepped into the world deity realm. If this goes on, I'm afraid that your true deity heart will collapse soon. In my opinion, you should just give up on your position as general. If you go into closed-door cultivation, you might be able to break through to become a world deity. Thank you for your concern, Patrol Master. I've been ordered by the Bloodshed God Palace to guard the Mountain Wu Star Field. Naturally, I'll do my best." The black-robed old man smiled. "Compared to my little life, the duties of the Bloodshed God Palace are much more important. If you lose your life, You won't be able to shoulder the duties of the Bloodshed God Palace. Patrol Master Guan sneered. I won't trouble Patrol Master Guan to worry about that, the black-robed old man said with a smile. Humph, Patrol Master Guan snorted and didn't say anything else. That's right. This black-robed old man was one of the 2 giants of the Mountain Wustar Field. He was the general of the garrisoned legion. There were a total of 2 legions in a starfield. One was the Patrol Legion, which was responsible for recruiting and building the starfield. The other was the garrisoned legion that the Bloodshed God Palace had dispatched. The authority of the garrisoned legion was relatively greater. For example, the Soaring Cloud Lake Master and the other world deities of the starfield had to curry favor with the leader of the garrisoned legion. The 2 great legions kept each other in check. This way, they could prevent the starfield patrol from acting recklessly. The beautiful woman sitting beside Patrol Master Guan was watching everything from the side. She then raised her head and said, Patrol Master Guan, it's about time, right? Yes. Patrol Master Guan raised his head and looked at the sky. He then stood up. Everyone. Patrol Master Guan's figure was thin, but he was still a world deity. The moment he opened his mouth, his majestic voice reverberated throughout every corner of the Bloodshed region. The countless deities who had rushed over to watch could hear him clearly, and all of them grew excited. It's starting, it's starting. Hurry, hurry, hurry up and watch. You have to tell me when my 3rd brother comes out. Patrol Master Guan looked around and continued, the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast is a grand event that His Majesty has personally ordered. He hopes that the experts of our Mountain Wustar Field will be able to display their strength, pass the preliminaries, and even the selections in the prefecture capital, and even participate in the final Myriad Flower Feast. They will be able to enjoy the Myriad Flower True Fruit together with His Majesty and the other powerful existences. That would be the greatest glory of our entire Mountain Wustar Field. Countless spectators felt their hearts boiling with excitement. They truly wished that they could see His Majesty the Blood-Blade Emperor. Even meeting him would be an endless honor, but their strength was still insufficient. In fact, it would be a luxury for the entire Mountain Wustar Field to have someone participate in the final banquet. I'm sure there's no need for me to explain the rules of the Starfield preliminaries. Everyone has long since heard of them. Patrol Master Guan nodded. Yes, the rules are very simple. As long as you can defeat this fierce shaman warrior within a period of time, you will be considered to have passed the preliminaries. If you can't do it, it will be considered a failure. In the center of the countless deities watching from afar, an enormous battle platform began to float up. This battle platform covered an area of 10,000 kilometers. Such a large battle platform was nothing to a deity. In the center of the battle platform, a humanoid creature with brown hair, approximately 12 meters tall, stood there. It raised its head and roared angrily. Not a single strand of hair could be seen on its face. Its skin was white, and its pair of small eyes flickered with an ominous glint. This was the famous fierce shaman's battle weapon. This seemingly ordinary fierce shaman warrior was actually the opponent of every Starfield preliminaries of the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast. It had defeated countless deities time and time again. Defeating it? It was far, far too difficult. Everyone has been waiting anxiously. Let's cut to the chase. Patrol Master Guan's majestic voice resounded throughout the sky. I hereby announce that the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast Starfield preliminaries will now begin. First place, Lai Xiao. Not too far away, at the entrance of the palace used for registration, a general in scarlet armor shouted. Immediately, a figure walked out of the palace. It was a man with a bird's head, most likely a demonic beast. Some demonic beasts, even in human form, still like to reveal their demonic beast characteristics. This man with a bird's head, Lai Xiao, walked along the golden passageway toward the battle platform in the distance. For a moment, countless deities looked over. Even the Starfield Patrol Master, the general of the garrisoned army, and the others on the distant platform also looked over. It has begun. Inside the palace, Dongbui Shuang and the others watched from afar. Most of them stood up and looked out through the palace's windows. Chapter 432. He stepped onto the stage. Countless deities were watching him, causing the deity called Lai Shao to grow excited. Begin. A golden-armored general shouted from the side of the stage. The hourglass floating above the stage began to glow as the sand of time flowed downwards. Die for me, the fierce shaman warrior roared. South. That godly expert called Lai Shao instantly turned into a blurry shadow. His flying speed was extremely fast, and he could probably cover close to 20,000 miles in a second. So fast. Dongbui Shuang couldn't help but be shocked as he watched from afar. His speed was already catching up to his own. The fierce shaman warrior roared as it chased after him, but it couldn't catch up no matter how hard it tried. Hua, 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 the fierce shaman warrior's body began to naturally disintegrate, and soon, it turned into 12 fierce shaman warriors that were about 5 meters tall. Although their speed did not increase, the 12 fierce shaman warriors surrounded him from different directions, making it impossible for the god-tier elite called Lai Shao to escape. However, Lai Shao began to fight the smaller fierce shaman warrior one-on-one with his speed. After the fierce shaman warrior's body disintegrates into 12 bodies, the strength of each clone is greatly reduced. Brother Lai Shao can easily defeat them one by one. Defeat them one by one. Generations of participants in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast have tried to defeat them one by one, but how many of them have succeeded? Even if it's 12 clones, each clone isn't that easy to deal with. Everyone in the palace was discussing this. Dongbui Shuang, who was watching from afar, agreed with this point. The fierce shaman warrior was extremely powerful, and its comprehension of laws and profound mysteries was extremely high as well. It had almost no flaws. In fact, the strength of each clone wasn't any weaker than the Tower Taper Beast. Perhaps they were weaker than the Tower Taper Beast in terms of strength, but their speed and comprehension of laws and profound mysteries were all superior. 12 clones attacking one by one, trying to defeat them one by one. That was too difficult. Lai Shao used a pair of short spears. After barely piercing through a fierce shaman warrior clone, he was quickly surrounded by the remaining 11 fierce shaman warriors. He shouted, "I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Ah. No. I admit defeat." One by one, they went up and admitted defeat. The few who refused to admit defeat even lost their lives. 102nd place, Tsang Qiu. Tsang Qiu looked like an ordinary deity, and he used a long staff. Impressive. Countless spectating deities exclaimed in admiration. What a powerful staff technique. It should be a secret skill he created himself. Dongbui Shuang nodded his head as he observed. This staff technique doesn't seem to be too eye-catching, but it has no weaknesses at all. Offense, defense, area of effect attacks, killing moves, psychedelic moves, this was a complete set of secret skills. Moreover, it was created based on the Grade 2 deity heart, the space deity heart. When the fierce shaman warrior realized that it was difficult to defeat the fierce shaman warrior one-on-one, it quickly split into 12 clones to surround the fierce shaman warrior. Under the combined attacks of the 12 clones, Tsang Qiu's staff was able to distort space itself. Its might was unfathomable, and after the first clone was defeated, more clones followed suit. After spending half a sand of time, Tsang Qiu defeated all the fierce shaman warrior clones and won. He was also the first person from the Mountain Wu star field to pass the preliminaries. God Spirit Tsang Qiu has passed the star field preliminaries. Patrol Master Guan, who was sitting high on the throne, immediately announced in a loud voice. Tsang Qiu. Amazing. Beautiful. Countless deities began to applaud like a tidal wave, engulfing the entire world. Tsang Qiu quickly walked down the stage and was led to the place where Patrol Master Guan and the others were seated. After Tsang Qiu was the first to pass the preliminaries, although there were still a large number of people who failed, there would still occasionally be a deity who passed. When the red-haired male wearing a half-mask walked up to the stage, countless deities began to pay attention to him. What a heavy baleful aura! Patrol Master Guan, General Tu, and a few other world deities also began to pay attention to him. For a deity to have such a heavy baleful aura, he must have had some special encounters. Look at his eyes. TSK, I think highly of him. He should be able to pass the preliminaries. I think so too. Patrol Master Guan and the others were chatting. They were also able to judge the strength of the red-haired male based on his eyes, temperament, and many other aspects. Clearly, the baleful aura of this red-haired male was too eye-catching. On the stage, the red-haired male, Shuiyun, clashed with the fierce shaman warrior. The red-haired male's blade techniques were fast and incomparably tyrannical, and his killing intent surged as he fought. Any ordinary deity would have felt their hearts tremble in the face of such killing intent. However, the fierce shaman warrior was a deity warrior, so it didn't care about killing intent or baleful aura. This sort of battle was extremely bitter, but after half an hour, the red-haired male, Shuiyun, succeeded in breaking through each and every one of the clones. Shuiyun became the fifth person to pass the Starfield selections. The order of battle was not the same as the order of registration. The order of the talismans during registration was mainly used to record information. As such, even though Dongbui Shuang had registered earlier, it was not his turn to fight. 1122nd, 7th Mayu. Accompanied by the voice of the scarlet-armored general, the white-robed handsome youth walked out of the palace. For a moment, countless deities turned to look at him. It's him. The woman sitting there now is his subordinate. This white-robed youth definitely has an extraordinary background. Let's see how powerful he is. News spread extremely quickly among deities, not to mention that this prince had arrived openly. For a moment, the attention of the countless spectators was focused on this battle. They weren't the only ones looking forward to it. Even the world deities on the platform were looking forward to it. His Highness has come out. Patrol Master Guan beamed at the beautiful woman beside him. With His Highness's strength, he will definitely pass the selections. And then the beautiful woman nodded. That's only natural. His Highness's bearing is extraordinary, and he seems to be the calmest of the lot. This was the first time the black-robed old man praised him. To remain so calm despite being stared at by countless deities, to be able to cultivate his heart to such an extent, I truly admire him. The other world deities present also praised him. Although it was somewhat like flattery, it wasn't a lie. After all, the gazes of deities carried a certain amount of pressure. To be stared at by countless deities, if it were a transcendent, his soul would most likely be unable to withstand the pressure and explode. Even deities would usually lose control of their state of mind. They would either become fanatical or excited. It would be extremely difficult to remain unmoved. But clearly, this prince had managed to do it. Begin. The start of the battle was announced. His Highness 7th Mayu extended his left hand, grabbing a snow-white sheathed sword as he calmly stared at the fierce shaman warrior. Roar! The fierce shaman warrior roared. His Highness 7th Mayu was incomparably calm. He unsheathed his sword. Hua! An incomparably dazzling sword light streaked across the sky like a snow-white waterfall. Hua hua hua! His Highness 7th Mayu's figure was like an illusion as he walked around the fierce shaman warrior. His sword light lit up one after another, each sword stronger than the one before. Pooh! The fierce shaman warrior's body abruptly exploded. Only then did His Highness 7th Mayu stop. He sheathed his sword, still as calm as ever. The countless spectating deities were silent at first, but then they erupted into an uproar. Cheers and gasps of admiration mixed together and resounded throughout the sky. It was simply inconceivable. This was the only deity who hadn't waited for the fierce shaman warrior to split into 12. Instead, he had taken advantage of the moment when the fierce shaman warrior was at its strongest to defeat it head-on. 15 swords. Just 15 swords, but the power of the sword grew stronger and stronger. On the 15th sword, he destroyed the fierce shaman warrior head-on. Patrol Master Guan could not help but laugh. Repairing this fierce shaman warrior will take quite some time. The fierce shaman warrior was made of special materials, which allowed it to be repaired very quickly. As expected of His Highness, he was able to defeat the fierce shaman warrior's strongest form head-on. Formidable. The world deities present all praised him. The beautiful lady smiled. Passing the preliminaries was already difficult, and the others had barely managed to do so. His Highness, 7th Mayu, on the other hand, easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior in 15 swords. Later on, more and more deities went up to fight, only to be defeated one after another. The countless spectating deities had yet to calm down. Although they were watching the battle, they were still discussing His Highness 7th Mayu. 1200. Dongbua. The scarlet-armored general at the entrance of the palace shouted another name. Chapter 433. Currently, there were only about 300 people in the hall. Upon hearing the shouts from outside, Dongbua Shuang stood up and walked towards the entrance of the hall. As soon as he reached the entrance, Dongbua Shuang saw countless deities looking in his direction. It's coming. This is the first time I'll reveal my true abilities in the deity world. Dongbua Shuang stepped out of the hall and onto the golden pathway. Dongbua. It's Dongbua. Countless deities who had come to watch the Starfield selections turned their gazes towards him. Who's Dongbua? He seems to be quite famous. He whipped the soaring Cloud Lake's young master with his heart-branding whip in public. What? You don't even know who he is? You should know about the patrolling army, right? A small patrolling army team attacked Dongbua, but they were easily defeated. No matter how powerful the patrolling army team is, they can't compare to the fierce shaman warrior. Defeating a patrolling army team doesn't mean he'll win. The fierce shaman warrior is indeed powerful, but I think Dongbua should be able to win. Countless deities discussed among themselves. Dongbua Shuang was quite famous among the participants. Everyone believed that he had a high chance of passing the Starfield selections, but he could also fail. After all, even if the fierce shaman warrior was split into 12, any one of them would be much stronger than an ordinary patrolling army team. He thinks he can pass the Starfield selections? Among the countless deities watching the Starfield selections, the soaring Cloud Lake's young master, Jin Meiyang, sneered. The fierce shaman warrior is an extremely rare and precious warrior. It was custom-made by the Bloodshed God Palace to be used as an opponent in the Starfield selections. It's much stronger than a small patrolling army team. If he overestimates himself, he might even lose his life. Yes, young master. This Dongbua is too arrogant and overestimates himself. I think he'll most likely lose his life this time. In a battle of life and death, he'll lose his life if he's even slightly careless. He'll definitely die. The subordinates next to him immediately agreed. This made the young master of the soaring Cloud Lake even more ferocious. He looked at this scene with anticipation. Dongbua. Die. The fierce shaman warrior is extremely powerful. You will definitely die, definitely. Dongbua Shuang, he is the deity of the Xia people. Yunhai was incomparably excited amidst the crowd of deities. He looked on in anticipation. This is the first time a deity of the Xia people is participating in the Starfield preliminaries. There were quite a few Xia people who became gods. However, no one had ever participated in the Starfield preliminaries before. Dongbua Shuang was the first. As Dongbua Shuang walked on the golden pathway, he could hear countless voices in the world. These were the voices of the countless deities who were watching. Everyone's gazes were focused on him. Even his gaze is so oppressive. Dongbua Shuang exclaimed inwardly, if I hadn't grasped the world deity heart, I would probably be affected by so many gazes. After all, he had only cultivated for 2,000 years. It was too short, too young. However, after grasping the world deity heart, he was able to tolerate everything in the world. These gazes could not affect him in the slightest. What a powerful mental state. The eyes of most of the world deities on the platform lit up. He should have only cultivated for 2,000 years or so, yet he is able to remain unmoved by the gazes of countless deities. It is truly rare. Only 2,000 years? Patrol Master Guan was astonished. My realm is slightly lower, so I could only tell that he had cultivated for less than 5,000 years. Who would have thought that he had only cultivated for 2,000 years? Youth can only represent potential. It cannot represent strength. The soaring cloud lake master smiled. This Dongbua, his mental state is indeed not bad. However, I'm afraid it will be quite difficult for him to pass the Starfield preliminaries. Jin Fei Yun. A tall, skinny man wrapped in white robes sneered. I heard that your son was whipped quite a few times by this Dongbua with the heart-branding whip. Haha, Jin Fei Yun, even if your son was whipped in anger, you can't be so biased. I'm quite optimistic about this Dongbua. The other world deities were more than happy to see the soaring cloud lake master lose face. The green-bearded Jin Fei Yun laughed. I should be thanking him for whipping my son. After all, my son is a bit too arrogant. As for his strength, I'm not speaking carelessly. With his strength, it will be quite difficult for him to defeat the fierce shaman warrior. In this Starfield preliminaries of our Mountain Wu Star Field, in terms of strength, the one with the most potential to shine in the future, is still His Highness, 7th Meiyu. In the end, this Dongbua is still lacking compared to His Highness, 7th Meiyu. And then, His Highness, 7th Meiyu, is indeed formidable. His Highness easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior in just 15 sword strikes. Moreover, it was the fierce shaman warrior in its strongest form, one world deity after another praised 7th Meiyu. The beautiful woman seated high above smiled. Although she felt that Dongbua Shuang was young and had potential, how could he compare to Her Highness? The difference was naturally too great. Dongbua Shuang walked through the golden passageway and finally stepped onto the stage. On the platform, Dongbua Shuang suddenly felt the surrounding noises become much quieter. Countless deities, including the world deities on the distant platform, were staring at him, waiting for the battle to begin. And then, Dongbua Shuang turned his head to look at the distant platform. With a single glance, he saw the master of the soaring cloud lake, Jin Fei Yun. He probably hopes for me to be defeated so that I won't be able to continue participating in the myriad flower feast. Then, as soon as I enter the bloodshed region, I'll be at his mercy. What a pity. You'll be disappointed. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. He then looked at the opponent in front of him. The fierce shaman warrior's body was covered in brown fur, and its face was fair. Its beady eyes stared at Dongbua Shuang, flickering with an ominous glint. Begin, the golden-armored general's voice boomed out, reverberating throughout the world. Inside the stage, the hourglass suspended in midair began to turn upside down, and the sands of time began to flow. Dongbua Shuang looked at the fierce shaman warrior in front of him. With a wave of his right hand, a thick black spear appeared in his hand. This spear was also the standard weapon provided by the patrol master. Ho! The fierce shaman warrior first raised its head and roared, its roar producing shockwaves visible to the naked eye. Dongbua Shuang continued to watch calmly. The fierce shaman warrior was slightly startled. Based on its experience, its opponents would usually run at full speed, using their speed to increase the distance between them and force it to split into 12 clones. However, this starry blue-robed youth in front of it was actually standing there without moving. This caused it to feel puzzled. You're actually not running. Brat, die. The fierce shaman warrior revealed its ferocious mouth and stomped on the ground of the platform. So, it transformed into a ray of light. The fierce shaman warrior charged forward with incomparable savagery. If it were to split into 12 clones, the power of each clone would decrease. As such, it was at its most perfect when it was not split. The laws of profound mysteries of strength and speed were balanced in all aspects. If the taper beast was compared to it, the latter would be too stupid and would be easily defeated. Hong, the fierce shaman warrior pounced forward, its pair of sharp claws striking out at the same time. A black and white vortex could be faintly seen on its claws. One claw was surrounded by a black vortex, while the other was surrounded by a white vortex. Even the surrounding space began to distort. Dongbua Shuang finally moved. Hong! At once, he waved the spear with both hands, raising it high and hacking down furiously. As he hacked down, the surrounding dark stars began to revolve, causing everything around him to collapse and be destroyed. The entire spear seemed to turn black. After entering the deity world and cultivating for more than 300 years, the secret skill that Dongbua Shuang had spent the most effort on, the chaotic suppression, had become even more perfect. His strength had reached the threshold of a world deity, and the secret skill that he used was even more powerful, the chaotic suppression. This secret skill had been created when he was still a transcendent. It was also combined with the world deity grade secret skill, the Great Chaotic True Force. This secret skill had been perfected to an extremely high level. In the past, when Dongbua Shuang fought against the Taper Beast, because the Taper Beast's realm was relatively low, he had relied on brute force to defeat it. He had not even used this secret skill. And then, the fierce shaman warrior was startled. Its figure flickered as it attempted to dodge the spear, its long claws continuing to attack. But no matter how it tried to dodge, the spear came slashing down. It was filled with a majestic aura, like an endless black hole that could devour everything. No matter how it tried, it could not be dodged and could only face it head-on. You want to face me head-on? The fierce shaman warrior raised both its claws to block the spear. It was prepared to block the attack first before tearing apart the youth in front of it. Pang! The claws and the spear clashed. An endless amount of terrifying power passed through the claws and into the fierce shaman warrior's body. The fierce shaman warrior's eyes widened, and with a pang, its entire body exploded. Hua! After that furious spear strike, Dongbua Shuang charged forward for another 30 meters before stopping. The world suddenly turned silent, complete silence. Whether it was the countless deities watching the battle, the young master of the soaring cloud lake, Yunhai, or the world deities on the high platform. All of them were staring at the dueling platform in silence. This scene caused all of the spectators to be somewhat dazed. One move. Just a furious spear strike had caused the fierce shaman warrior to explode. Both sides clashed, and the fierce shaman warrior exploded. Dongbua Shuang turned his head to look at the high platform. At this time, the Starfield Patrol Master Guan finally came to his senses. Unable to conceal his excitement, he stood up and announced, Deity Dongbua has defeated the fierce shaman warrior in one move. He has passed the Starfield preliminaries. Chapter 434. The countless spectators, who had been silent all this while, suddenly burst into an uproar. Cheers, shouts, exclamations, and discussions mixed together to form a huge sound wave that engulfed the world. Too powerful. This is crazy. One move, just one move, and the fierce shaman warrior exploded. This is even more powerful than His Highness. This Dong Bo is too strong. It looks like my Mountain Wu Star Field is going to show its face this time. I dare say that this Dong Bo will be very dazzling even during the prefecture capital's bloody selections. I must go there and watch the battle. Teleporting to the prefectural bloody selection costs 20 deity crystals. Isn't it just 20 deity crystals? How many years can we live after becoming deities? If we live for too long, we'll go crazy and our true deity hearts will collapse. To be able to watch a deity of the Mountain Wu Star Field display his abilities in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast, let alone 20 deity crystals, even 100 would be worth it. These deities were all incomparably excited. Peak deities usually only had a few hundred deity crystals. If it was a late-stage or mid-stage deity, the amount of divinity crystals accumulated would be even less. Just one teleportation cost 20 deity crystals. The price was too high, but for the sake of watching the battle, they were willing to go all out. Let's go all out. Too powerful. I've lived for more than 30 million years, and I've seen a total of 4 Starfield selections. This one is the most powerful. I thought that His Highness was already very powerful, but this Dongbo, he really scared me. He's definitely the most powerful deity I've ever seen. I must go to the prefectural bloody selection, even if it costs 20 deity crystals. In the past, even if they passed the Starfield selections, they wouldn't have any hope of standing out in the prefectural bloody selection. But this Dongbo, I feel that he can make a name for himself. He even has a high chance of representing the entire Calm Sea Prefecture in the Bloodshed God Palace. In front of His Majesty, in front of all the powerful existences, he'll participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle. Ah, this is someone from our Mountain Wu Star Field. These deities were incomparably excited. Too powerful. Among the countless spectators, the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master Jin Meiyang's face turned ashen. He even noticed that many deities nearby were looking at him. Damn it! Jin Meiyang gritted her teeth. Jin Meiyang looked at Dongbo Shuang, who was being led by a soldier to the high platform. This scene made Jin Meiyang feel as if his heart was being bitten by countless insects. How can he be so strong? He's this strong. At this moment, Jin Meiyang finally understood that when Dongbo Shuang fought with him previously, he was just toying with him. From the beginning to the end, he did not reveal his true strength. Does this mean that I will never have the chance to take revenge? No, there is also the bloody screening in the prefecture capital. Although he is powerful, the prefecture capital is the place where the entire Calm Sea Prefecture is screened. Furthermore, the screening is extremely bloody and cruel, so it is very likely that he will die during the selection. Jin Meiyang understood that he did not have the strength to take revenge. But the viciousness in his bones made him look forward to Shui Ying's downfall. This way, please. The soldier led the way. Dongbo Shuang followed suit, walking towards the high platform. At the highest point of the high platform were the patrol master and the beautiful woman, while the world deities and the black-robed old man sat to their sides. Below them were the deities who had passed the selection, including Tsang Qiu, the red-haired man with half a mask, and His Highness, 7th Meiyu. All of them were seated there. Please. Dongbo Shuang was led to a seat as well. Those who had passed through the selections were seated in order, so Shuang was naturally seated next to the handsome white-robed teenager, His Highness 7th Meiyu. Little friend Dongbo, your strength is truly formidable. The patrol master looked down at Dongbo Shuang with a smile. For our Mountain Wu Star Field to produce such an expert is truly our Mountain Wu Star Field's fortune. This time, it seems that I, Old Guan, will have to show my face in the prefecture capital. When the time comes, I will have the qualifications to boast and show off in front of the army lord, the black-robed old man said with a smile. The two big shots of the Mountain Wu Star Field simultaneously praised. The other world deities also began to praise Dongbo Shuang. It seems that little friend Dongbo and I are fated to meet, the Soaring Cloud Lake's master, Jin Feiyun, said. Last time, I could tell that little friend's strength was extraordinary, and I was afraid that a mere projection of mine wouldn't be able to deal with him. But now, it seems that I have underestimated little friend. Last time, both of us weren't in our true bodies. Now that we meet again, I have to thank little friend. Honestly, after receiving a few whips from you, my son has become much more obedient. Jin Feiyun, your skin is truly thick. Isn't it common knowledge that his skin is thick? Little friend Dongbo, you have to give it your all. Who knows, you might be able to pass through the prefecture capital's selections. At that time, you will be qualified to enter the Bloodshed God Palace and participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Given your age, it should be easy for you to enter the tutelage of a powerful existence. When the time comes, I might need little friend Dongbo to take care of me. These world deities didn't put on any airs when facing Dongbo Shuang. Dongbo Shuang could only respond with one or two sentences or a smile. Formidable. He's much more formidable than us. If we go to the prefecture capital and admit defeat, we might be able to survive. This Dongbo is truly formidable. Including Dongbo Shuang, there were a total of 12 people who had passed through the selections. The rest of them were quietly discussing the matter through voice transmissions. The solitary red-haired man, who was emanating a baleful aura, watched everything coldly and snorted faintly. Dongbo Shui Ying's ears were extremely sensitive, and he heard the cold snort as well. He turned his head and saw that the red-haired man was also looking at Dongbo Shuang coldly. This person's baleful aura is quite heavy, and his temper is quite strange. Dongbo Shuang had originally intended to befriend him, but he immediately gave up on the idea. Not suitable. Your spear technique is quite formidable. A voice came from the side. It was clear and cold, but it was pleasing to the ears. Dongbo Shuang turned his head and saw that it was the white-robed handsome youth, His Highness 7th Meiyu. His Highness 7th Meiyu was dressed in white, and his entire body was clean and clean. His aura was like that of a 10,000-year-old glacier. Even though it was cold, it was clean and pure. His eyes were clear and penetrating, as if there were no impurities in them. When making friends, everyone liked to be straightforward. His Highness 7th Meiyu, Dongbo Shuang, seemed to be the kind of person who didn't like to play tricks. His every word and action was straightforward. It's just that I'm slightly stronger, Dongbo Shuang said modestly. If it's just your strength, the fierce shaman warrior's laws of profound mysteries are able to neutralize 99% of the force. On the other hand, it couldn't neutralize the force of your spear technique at all. Instead, it directly seeped into its body, causing it to explode in an instant, 7th Meiyu said. Such a spear technique is extremely difficult to block. His Highness's sword technique is also very powerful. I specialize in strength, so I succeeded in one move. His Highness's sword technique is unpredictable, which is why I needed 15 moves to kill him. His Highness and I specialize in different aspects. Dongbo Shuang said. These were his heartfelt words. His Highness 7th Meiyu was indeed very powerful. 7th Meiyu nodded lightly. You don't need to call me Highness. Just call me Meiyu. Brother Meiyu. Dongbo Shuang called out. Brother Dongbo. 7th Meiyu nodded slightly. Even though he was a proud and aloof person, he still had sufficient respect for powerful experts. Clearly, Dongbo Shuang was the only one worthy of his respect. As for the others, he ignored them. Time passed. Battle after battle continued. However, there were no longer any deity experts like Dongbo Shuang or 7th Meiyu, who could easily kill the fierce shaman warrior. The world deities on the high platform were also casually watching the battles, occasionally chatting with each other. Little friend Dongbo, the patrol master, suddenly called out. Patrol master, Dongbo Shuang hastily replied. I wonder which star of our mountain Wu star field, little friend Dongbo, are you from? Patrol master Guan smiled. Or are you from somewhere else? If you're from my mountain Wu star field, as the patrol master of this star field, I might be able to lend you a hand. Dongbo Shuang understood that this patrol master thought highly of him and was expressing his goodwill. He immediately said, Thank you, patrol master. However, I'm not from any star of the mountain Wu star field. My hometown isn't in the deity world, but in the material world. Material world? Patrol master Guan nodded in surprise. Oh, so a deity expert has appeared in the material world. How rare. You said that you're from the material world? The beautiful woman beside Patrol Master Guan suddenly asked. You've only cultivated for 2,000 years, yet you've already reached such a realm. Furthermore, you're from the material world? In that case, have you already refined the heart of the realm and become a lord of the material world? Shua. Immediately, the gazes of Patrol Master Guan, General 2, the group of world deities, 7th Meiyu, and the others who had passed the starfield selections all landed on Dongbo Shuang. A lord of the material world? Chapter 435. This Madame Sang was absolutely right. He had cultivated for less than 10,000 years, yet his realm was already so high, and he was born in the material realm. It was almost certain that he was a lord of a material realm. I was just lucky. Dongbua Shuang laughed, admitting it very naturally. A lord of a material realm? He really is a lord of a material realm? The other deities who had passed through the Starfield selections looked at Dongbua Shuang with shock and envy. The half-masked red-haired man had a complicated look in his eyes as well. He couldn't be jealous even if he wanted to. Even the high-ranking 7th Mayu looked at Dongbua Shuang and couldn't help but say, "I really envy brother Dongbua." Ha ha ha, the patrol master seated on his throne laughed and sighed. Little friend Dongbua is truly admirable and enviable. His strength is so high at such a young age, and his future is limitless. But he's actually a lord of a material realm. I'm very envious. I'm even willing to exchange all my treasures and even my position as the Starfield Patrol Master, just to become a lord of a material realm. Unfortunately, there's no way to exchange for that. Patrol Master Guan, even if you were born in the material realm, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to become a lord of a material realm. The black-robed elder, General 2, said, "There aren't any powerful seniors in the material realm. As for demigod transcendence only have an inkling of the laws of heaven and earth. Their guidance might even make the path of cultivation more difficult." Dongbua Shuang nodded. That's right. The higher one's realm, the more one would understand how difficult it was to guide others in cultivation, unless they were like powerful existences, who had already transcended the laws of heaven and earth. Their guidance was the one that truly hit the nail on the head, pointing straight to the essence. As for the guidance he received from Si Kong Yang and the rest when he was still young and inexperienced, perhaps it would have been fine if they had only given guidance to ordinary transcendents, but if they had given guidance to the truly talented ones, it would have been misleading. Si Kong Yang and the rest couldn't be blamed. They were only demigods back then, and their understanding of the laws of heaven and earth was too shallow. Without a good teacher, one has to figure everything out on their own. To reach the peak of the deity realm within 10,000 years is simply too difficult. The black-robed elder sighed. Everything has its two sides. The beautiful woman sitting at the very top also said, "Without the guidance of a good master, although cultivation is difficult, once you succeed, you will become a material world lord. After becoming a lord of a material world, as long as one cultivates a doppelganger technique, leaving one body in the material world and the other outside, no matter how powerful a world deity is, they will not be able to kill a lord of a material world." Yes. Patrol Master Guan, General 2, the other universe gods, including those who had passed the star field preliminaries, were all extremely envious. That was right. It was impossible for anyone below the Almighty to kill a material world lord. Even the lofty stage 4 world deities whose strength was close to that of powerful existences would at most be able to kill the avatars of the lords of a material realm. The true body of the lords of a material realm, on the other hand, was absolutely safe. After all, how many almighty existences were there in the entire god realm? It was very difficult to provoke a powerful existence. In the immortal world, one had to be wary of provoking a powerful enemy, or accidentally provoking an existence with a powerful background. However, becoming a lord of a material world was equivalent to having a supreme protective talisman. Even if others wanted to offend such an existence, they would have to think twice before making an enemy out of an unkillable existence. Furthermore, a material world lord could go adventuring in places without fear of death, obtaining treasures. I'm so envious. Everyone present was envious. Being born in the deity world and the material world had its pros and cons. In the deity world, the energy of the world was much more turbulent, and becoming a transcendent was much easier. Moreover, those with sufficient talent could easily receive guidance from powerful seniors. Some might even be taken in as disciples by powerful world deities. World deities all grasped hold of at least a grade 1 deity heart, and their guidance would be of great help to one's cultivation. The path of cultivation would be 10 to 100 times easier. As for the material world, everything depended on oneself. Reaching the peak of the deity realm within 10,000 years was much harder than in the deity world. However, in the material world, even if one could not become a lord of a material world, it was still safer, unlike in the deity world. Everything had its pros and cons. Brother Dongbua, have you cultivated a doppelganger technique? Her Highness 7th Mayu suddenly asked. Everyone present reacted, and the patrol master hurriedly asked, "Little friend Dongbua, you didn't come here with your real body, did you?" "I have indeed cultivated a doppelganger technique." Dongbua Shuang nodded without hiding anything. "Why are you so?" The patrol master couldn't help but shake his head. Cultivating a doppelganger technique causes your soul to split into two, which will affect your comprehension of cultivation. You can always cultivate it again and wait for the next myriad flower feast. Dongbua Shuang laughed. Wait for another 10 million years. It's not that I'm arrogant, but I feel that I should have become a world deity in 10 million years. Patrol Master Guan and the other world deities agreed inwardly. To reach such a realm in 2000 years, becoming a world deity in 10 million years was indeed an easy task. At that time, I won't be able to participate in the myriad flower feast and enjoy the myriad flower true fruit. Dongbua Shuang laughed. My current cultivation has reached a bottleneck, and I'm only a small step away from becoming a world deity. However, this step is like a heavenly moat that cannot be completed in a short period of time. Thus, after much consideration, I decided to cultivate a doppelganger technique and participate in the myriad flower feast. Firstly, I can use this opportunity to temper my strength. Secondly, as long as I can head to the Bloodshed God Palace, I believe that with my years of cultivation, I will have a high chance of becoming a disciple of a powerful existence. The beautiful woman said, "Little friend Dongbua, as long as you head to the Bloodshed God Palace, you will definitely become a disciple of a powerful existence. With the guidance of a powerful existence, I believe that I will be able to break through the final step much faster." Dongbua Shuang laughed. Being able to participate in the myriad flower feast, enjoying the myriad flower true fruit, and becoming a disciple of a powerful existence earlier, for many reasons, I feel that it is worth cultivating a doppelganger technique. That's true. There are gains and losses. The myriad flower true fruit's assistance to one's soul can completely make up for the loss of splitting into two. The world deities all understood Dongbua Shuaying's choice. Either he would silently cultivate in seclusion for millions or tens of millions of years, or he would dazzlingly participate in the myriad flower feast and become a disciple of a powerful existence. It was likely that many would choose the latter. The entire Starfield selections were still in progress. Even though there were some who managed to pass the selections, the Patrol Master, General 2, and the world deities on the high platform were still chatting casually with Shuang. Clearly, Dongbua Shuaying's position in their hearts had risen significantly. Finally, after a full 12 days of Starfield selections, the Mountain Wu Starfield selections finally came to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast has officially ended with the Starfield selections of my Mountain Wu Starfield. A total of 16 deities from my Mountain Wu Starfield have passed, including stunning experts like Dongbua and 7th Mayu. I believe that the deities of my Mountain Wu Starfield will be able to display their true strength in the prefecture battle, and they might even have the chance to represent the Calm Sea Prefecture in the Bloodshed God Palace. The final Bloodshed God Palace battle will be held in front of His Majesty and the powerful existences. Patrol Master Guan's voice was brimming with confidence. Below, the soldiers of the Legion were maintaining order, allowing the spectators to leave the Bloodshed region. Let's go. Patrol Master Guan also looked around. The 16 who passed the preliminaries will also follow me to my mansion. Stay there for a year, and after that, I'll bring all of you to the prefecture battle. If you have any subordinates or friends, you can bring them along. My mansion is very large, and you can all stay there. Powerful deities usually had their own subordinates and followers. Soon, Patrol Master Guan, Madame Sang, General 2, and a group of world deities flew majestically in the sky. 7th Mayu, Eastern Europe's Snow Eagle, and the rest of the 16 deities were behind them, each with their own people. Dongbua Shuang only brought Yunhai with him. His Highness, 7th Mayu, had brought the most people with her. A group of white-robed maids followed her, and every single one of them was an extraordinary deity. They were probably much stronger than the soldiers of the Legion. Dongbua, I'm about to go crazy from watching this, Yunhai said as he flew beside Dongbu Shuang. Should we tell the Xia people about this? Let them be happy as well. Let's tell them, Dongbu Shuang said with a smile. Alright, I'll tell them, including Violet Thunder and the others. Let them be happy. Yunhai could hardly conceal his excitement. Dongbu Shuang smiled faintly. Under Patrol Master Guan's lead, although Dongbu Shuang and the others weren't flying very fast, the space around them was constantly changing. Patrol Master Guan was, after all, in charge of the city. Thus, it only took a moment for Dongbu Shuang to see the extravagant mansion in the distance, the mansion of the Lord Patrol Master. Chapter 436. Dongbu Shuang and Yunhai were temporarily staying at the Chief Patrol's mansion. Meanwhile, in different regions of the divine world, the ancestor deities of the Xia clan who were still alive had all received the news from the Cloud Sea. Dongbo passed the star field preliminaries and defeated the fierce shaman warrior with just one move. The amiable-looking old man, the Purple Thunder Emperor, who was currently stationed on a star, was overjoyed when he received the news. Excellent! This is the first person in the history of the Xia people to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast. Dongbo truly lives up to his reputation as the strongest deity in the history of the Xia people. I'll definitely be there to watch the Calm Sea Prefecture's prefecture capital battle. Although the army had its own rules, it wasn't as if they were completely heartless. After all, what kind of grand occasion was the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast? These soldiers could also send divine power clones to watch the battle, and they would be sent over in batches. Even the teleportation fee was waived. The Purple Thunder Emperor didn't go to watch the Star Zone preliminaries because he was more engrossed in the Tao of Alchemy. However, he knew that Dongbo was going to participate in the Prefecture City battle, so he naturally had to go. Myriad Flower Feast, Prefecture Battle. One of the ancestors of the Xia people, a loner who had also reached the peak of the deity level, the Crimson Flame Emperor, was incomparably excited when he heard the news. Wonderful, wonderful! I must definitely go and watch the prefectural city battles. Good heavens! Dongbua is really amazing. He defeated the fierce shaman warrior with a single move. I'm too weak, and I've offended enemies. I'm in hiding now. Why don't I go to the prefectural city and seek refuge with Dongbo? Most of the ancestors of the Xia people decided to head to the Calm Sea Prefecture city, with the exception of a few who were unable to make it to the Calm Sea Prefecture. There were even some who were too weak and had to sell their deity weapons and treasures to gather 20 deity crystals to spectate the battle. This way, they would be able to rely on Dongbu Shuang when the time came. After all, Dongbu Shuang could be considered as a huge backer. Hugging onto this thick thigh would make their days much better. In the future, when Dongbu Shuang's status rises and he becomes stronger, he would definitely trust the Xia people even more. After the ancestors of the Xia people heard the news, they were all excited and proud. In the physical realm, within the world of the Xia people, the news of Dongbu Shuang passing the preliminaries of the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast was known to very few. That generation is getting fewer and fewer. Dongbu Shuang, who was dressed in white, stood at the top of Snowrock Mountain, looking at the world from afar. His eyes pierced through the obstacles of space and saw Emperor Xia's city. He had cultivated for more than 2,300 years. Even if he subtracted the 600 years of time acceleration, it would still be more than 1,700 years. After so many years, the Palace Lord Chen, Mountain Lord He, Si Kong Yang, City Lady Bu, Grand Elder Palace Head, Master Gong Yu, and the others had long reached the end of their lifespans. Dongbu Shuang had reconstructed their fleshly bodies and sent them into the Crimson Rock Mountain world. As for Pu Yangbo, Zhangpeng, Yu Feng, and the other good brothers, they had all failed to become demigods and were sent into the Crimson Rock Mountain world as well. Of course, his younger brother, Dongbu Qingshi, had finally become a demigod under Dongbu Shuang's careful guidance, but it was barely enough. Dongbu Shuang reckoned that it would be very difficult for his younger brother to become a demigod, and that he would have to reconstruct his fleshly body and send it into the Crimson Rock Mountain world. Snow Eagle, what's wrong? Jing Qiu appeared at his side. There are happy things, but there are fewer people to share them with, Dongbua Shuang said. You don't intend to tell Yu and Qingyao about the preliminaries of the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast? Jing Qiu asked. There's no need to tell them. Dongbua Shuang said, Yu and Qingyao should first train them. Once they are strong enough, we'll send them into Crimson Rock Mountain. Once they become honorary disciples of Crimson Rock Mountain, they'll be able to temper themselves in the world of Crimson Rock Mountain. Jing Qiu was somewhat worried. Crimson Rock Mountain's trial is very dangerous. What about you, and Qingyao? Don't worry, they're both very strong. They just need to temper their temperaments a bit more. Dongbua Shuang said. Even if they had to follow the rules of Crimson Rock Mountain's trial, his children were more than enough. His true body had cultivated the time-immemorial physique to the 4th level before he had children. Thus, the bloodlines of Dongbua Yu and Dongbua Qingyao were extremely powerful. They were much stronger than any abyssal demon or primordial life form. They were already comparable to newly ascended deities when they reached adulthood, and after 500 years of cultivation and the guidance of a world deity like Dongbua Shuang, his children's strength had risen to a whole new level. Passing the trial was very easy, and because their bodies were extremely strong, their souls were also sufficiently strong. They were also confident of passing the soul trial. More importantly, Dongbua Shuang was the master of Crimson Rock Mountain. His children were going to challenge it. How could they fail? He was only putting on an act for his wife and his 2 senior brothers to see. In any case, you've already gone through the trial, so you should be very clear about the dangers of Crimson Rock Mountain. You should take care of it yourself. If you think that you, and Qingyao can pass, then let them in, Jing Qiu said. Don't worry, I won't harm them. Dongbua Shuang smiled. Right, Snow Eagle, I have some good news to tell you, Jing Qiu said. Good news? Dongbua Shuang's eyes brightened as he looked at his wife's belly. You're pregnant again. His true body had already become a world deity, so how could he have another child so easily? What are you thinking about? Jing Qiu helplessly said, I'm saying that I've already grasped the Grade 2 deity heart, the Primordial Frost deity heart. Primordial Frost deity heart? Dongbua Shuang was startled. What deity heart is that? As the master of Crimson Rock Mountain, he knew many secrets, but he had never heard of the Primordial Frost deity heart. It's the name I came up with after condensing my deity heart. Jing Qiu said, it's the pinnacle of frost, so I decided on this name. I feel that as long as I continue to cultivate and evolve, the Primordial Frost deity heart will have a chance of evolving into the Primal Chaos deity heart. However, that's still a long way off. I've only grasped the basics of a Grade 2 deity heart. I'm still far from reaching the peak of the deity realm. After Chao Qing and me, our Xia people will finally have another deity. Dongbua Shuang was quite happy. You're nearing the end of your lifespan. I've always been afraid that you won't be able to comprehend it before your time comes. Didn't I comprehend it already? I'm preparing to break through tonight. Alright, I'll protect you. That night, a huge illusion of an ocean appeared in the sky of the Xia people's world once more. It was vast and majestic, covering an area of 50,000 kilometers. Clearly, it was a Grade 2 deity heart that had become a deity. Jing Qiu was dressed in a light blue robe. She sat cross-legged in a quiet room within Snowrock Castle. Dongbua Shuang stood guard outside the room. With the Primordial Frost deity heart as the core, it would become the true deity heart. Opening the deity sea, giving birth to deity power. Jing Qiu's aura gradually began to change. An icy aura of deity power began to spread, causing even the floor of the quiet room to freeze. Suddenly, Jing Qiu opened her eyes. Her brows furrowed, and she couldn't help but clutch her head. Several breaths later, her brows relaxed, and she calmly looked forward. However, her eyes were cold and distant. I've become a deity. That's great. Jing Qiu suddenly smiled brightly. Snow Eagle, you, Qingyao, the heavens are so kind to me. Jing Qiu stood up, and the door to the quiet room opened. Seeing his wife walk out, Dongbu Shuang was somewhat stunned. His wife was smiling happily, and it was a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. Jing Qiu, look at how happy you are. Dongbu Shuang laughed. Jing Qiu reached out and hugged Dongbu Shuang's arm. I've become a deity. Of course I'm happy. I can spend a long time with you, our son and daughter. Snow Eagle, I've always wanted to accompany you to the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. But I couldn't become a deity until now. I want to cultivate a clone technique so that I can accompany you in the deity realm. Cultivate a clone technique? Dongbu Shuang hurriedly said, it will affect your cultivation. It's fine. Do you want me to stay in the material realm forever? Or do you want my true body to go to the deity realm? Jing Qiu looked at Dongbu Shuang. Snow Eagle, senior brother Snow Eagle. Dongbu Shuang thought for a moment, then nodded with a smile. Alright, I'll bring you to see my two senior brothers. Inside Crimson Rock Mountain. The thick-robed youth, Gubai, and the scarlet-cloaked youth, He Feiyun, were both incomparably shocked. Brat, you secretly participated in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast? Gubai asked. Didn't I say it back then? It's the ancestors' orders, so of course I have to participate. Dongbu Shuang said, you guys also said that Crimson Rock Mountain disciples can't cultivate a clone technique, so I can only try to learn it outside. Right, my wife, Jing Qiu, is also preparing to go to the deity realm. Why don't you teach her a clone technique? She's not a Crimson Rock Mountain disciple, so she should be able to learn it. The two senior brothers looked at each other. Alright. He Feiyun said, however, junior brother Snow Eagle, you must inform us of your participation in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. Don't worry, Dongbu Shuang hurriedly said. Thank you, senior brothers, Jing Qiu said from the side. You two husband and wife are truly enviable. The thick-robed youth, Gubai, laughed. Very quickly, Jing Qiu cultivated a clone technique. Crimson Rock Mountain helped her cultivate an embryo under the acceleration of time, and she quickly cultivated a clone. Following which, Jing Qiu's clone left the world of the Xia people. With enough deity crystals, she easily reached Mountain Wu City in the Mountain Wu Star Zone. You're Dongbu's wife. The soldiers at the main gate of the Starfield Patrol Master's mansion stared at the beautiful woman in deep blue robes in astonishment. She was truly beautiful. Even as deities, it was rare for them to see such a beautiful woman. I'll go inform them right away, one of the guards hurriedly said. Soon. Dongbu Shuang and Yunhai hurried over. The moment he saw his wife, Dongbu Shuang couldn't help but reveal a look of joy as he hurried over. You must be Mage Jing Qiu, Yunhai said with a smile. Yunhai laughed from the side. Dongbo was just exchanging pointers with His Highness 7th Meiyu when he heard that you were coming. He immediately left 7th Meiyu behind and rushed over here. Star. Chapter 437. Greetings, Senior Yunhai. Jing Qiu hurriedly bowed to the Xia people. Don't. We're all deities now, so we should treat each other as peers, Yunhai said. Shuang pulled Jing Qiu's hand as they walked into the mansion. Let's not stand in front of the mansion's entrance. The guards are watching us. Jing Qiu looked at Dongbu Shuang with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. His Highness 7th Meiyu? Who? It sounds like a girl's name. A man. Dongbu Shuang said helplessly. A very powerful expert. He easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior in the Starfield selections, and his background is extraordinary. A Stage 2 world deity is only his subordinate. Jing Qiu was shocked. A Stage 2 world deity? What's his background? I don't know. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. His background is extraordinary. he might have used a treasure to hide his identity and aura. It's also possible that he's a woman disguised as a man, Jing Qiu said deliberately. And to spar with you? Dongbua Shuang clutched his forehead. They were an old couple, yet the first thing they did was tease him. Emperor Yunhai watched from the side with a smile, but there was a hint of loneliness in his eyes. After Jing Qiu's arrival, her days in the patrol master's mansion became much more relaxed and joyful. Her wife accompanied her every day, and she would occasionally spar with Her Highness 7th Meiyu. Their strength was similar, and it could be considered as preparation for the upcoming prefectural battle. Day after day passed, and the day of departure for the prefecture capital drew nearer. Rumble within the meditation room. Shuang sat cross-legged on his bed. With a swipe of his finger, a rolling crimson stream of water danced in midair. This stream of water was formed from many droplets, and every single droplet was visible to the naked eye. As they moved, they brought with them an endless amount of power. It was so powerful that the surrounding space seemed to collapse and shrink. These crimson droplets of water danced around Shuang, and also danced in midair within the cultivation room. The Chaos Hold Deity Heart and the World Deity Heart are indeed different. Dongbua Shuang looked at the dark red water droplets dancing in the air. The World Deity Heart is more inclusive and balanced, while the Chaotic Deity Heart is more extreme. But because it was too extreme, it created a balance. Extreme. I need to break free from the World Deity Heart's influence and completely immerse myself in the mysteries of the Chaos Whole. Dongbua Shuang closed his eyes. After many years of cultivation, especially after perfecting his self-created secret technique, Chaotic Crush, Dongbua Shuiying's understanding of the chaotic whole had deepened, and his state of mind was also getting closer. Countless profound mysteries appeared. Behind Dongbua Shuiying, there was a faint shadow of collapsing darkness. This shadow of darkness was surrounded by a layer of light. The outer layer had a halo of light, and the inner layer was absolute darkness. Others could see it, but Dongbua Shuiying was immersed in his comprehension, ignoring all these phenomena. That's right. Completely extreme seems to be wrong. But if one surges forward and becomes one, the end of the extreme is perfection. Dongbua Shuiying suddenly had an epiphany, and he gained a clearer understanding of the chaotic deity heart. Although he had not completely grasped it, every small improvement he made was a step closer to success. Great chaotic true force, condense. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the sky and took a deep breath. The dark red water droplets in the air immediately flew into Dongbua Shuiying's mouth and entered his body. Within his deity sea, countless dark red water droplets were being transformed. Every water droplet became heavier and more collapsed, and its color became darker and darker, almost black. Drops of black water droplets appeared within his deity sea. Each black water droplet was incomparably heavy, and they could easily smash an ordinary peak stage deity to death. Yes, a single water droplet could smash a peak stage deity to death. The great chaotic true force truly specializes in extreme strength. Dongbua Shuiying praised. The energy within his body was still transforming, but since he had already comprehended it, it would only take him a bit more time to transform it. He could already feel the might of the second stage of the great chaotic true force. It's not as good as the third stage of the time immemorial body in other aspects, but it's clearly stronger in terms of strength. The time immemorial scripture had a total of 9 stages. The deity realm had a total of 3 stages. Because he had participated in the God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, this body had naturally only reached the 3rd stage. However, he did not dare to reach the 4th stage. If he did, even a fool would be able to guess that he had grasped hold of a grade 1 deity heart. Looking at it again, he had only cultivated for 2,000 years. This was a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. The great chaotic true force had a total of 6 stages. The deity realm had a total of 2 stages. The time immemorial body specialized in survival, so even if he reached the 3rd stage of the deity realm, his strength and speed would only be at the threshold of a world deity. The great chaotic true force, on the other hand, specialized in strength. Once he reached the 2nd stage, his strength would be comparable to a stage 1 world deity. Of course, The main reason why world deities were so powerful was because of their comprehension of the realms. They could control an area of more than 100 million kilometers with a single thought, and their grade 1 deity hearts were even more mysterious and unfathomable. However, for him to be so powerful in terms of pure strength, he was already quite powerful amongst deities. The only ones who could compete with me in terms of strength are those who also cultivate in world deity-ranked secret techniques. Dongbui Shuang thought. Even if he had a world deity-ranked secret technique, cultivating it to the peak of the deity realm would not be an easy task. There's still half a month left before we head to the prefecture capital. If I can master it before the prefecture capital battle, my chances of success will increase by quite a bit. Dongbui Shuang was quite happy. Half a month later, Patrol Master Guan was leading the group of people who had passed the Starfield selections. His Highness 7th Meiyu, Dongbui Shuang, and the others were also leading their own people. There was even a large group of soldiers protecting them. They flew majestically within Mountain Wu City. The trip to the prefecture capital will be up to you all, Patrol Master Guan said with a smile as he flew. With His Highness 7th Meiyu and Dongbui around, our Mountain Wu star field will definitely shine brightly this time, the black-robed old man, General 2, said with a smile. The world deities who had followed along were also chatting idly. Behind them, Dongbui Shuang and the rest were relatively quiet. They did not dare to boast about themselves. Humph, the red-haired man, who was emitting a baleful aura and wearing a half-mask, heard Patrol Master Guan, General 2, and the other world deities praise Dongbui Shuang and His Highness 7th Meiyu. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. He glanced at the aloof, white-robed handsome youth in front of him, then at Dongbui Shuang, who was happily laughing together with his wife, Jing Qiu. The baleful aura on his body grew even stronger. Who? Very soon, the group entered the spatial teleportation array outside Mountain Wu City. The deity world soldiers in charge of the array immediately rushed to and fro in a respectful manner. After all, this was the Starfield Patrol Master, the general of the garrison, and a group of world deities. They could not afford to offend any one of them. The spatial teleportation channel was instantly activated. Their bodies felt as if they had sunk into a swamp, and the space around them had solidified. Everything became clear. What appeared before their eyes was an incomparably majestic city that was many times more majestic than Mountain Wu City. It was incomparably huge, and it was even surrounded by mountains. Amidst the mountains, there were even many stars. There were dozens of stars in the sky above the city alone. From this, one could see how huge this city was. A prefecture capital. Everyone, including the patrol master, looked at it from afar and involuntarily retracted their auras. The Calm Sea prefecture capital was the core of a prefecture. The entire territory of the Bloodshed God Palace was divided into 19 prefectures. The number of experts within the Calm Sea prefecture was as many as the clouds in the sky. Compared to them, these people did not count for much. Star. Chapter 438. The towering walls of the Calm Sea prefecture city were covered with countless arrays. These arrays could faintly draw upon the power of the world to permeate a radius of millions and millions of kilometers. Everyone, including the strongest Stage 2 world deity in the team, Madame Sang, could feel the pressure. The Calm Sea prefecture city has been reinforced by the previous prefecture master, and its power has long since reached an extraordinary level. The current prefecture master can activate the arrays with a single thought, and even Stage 4 world deities will be suppressed, losing their lives if they aren't careful. As for us weak world deities, no matter how many come, we will all die. Patrol Master Guan continued, moreover, there are many people with powerful backgrounds here. It is best for everyone to maintain a low profile within the prefecture city. Yes. Yes, Patrol Master. The deities who had passed through the preliminaries hurriedly replied. His Highness 7th Meiyu and Dongbui Shuang, on the other hand, were relatively calm. The two of them were well aware of the underlying rules. Patrol Master Guan continued, however, you can rest assured. You are all participants of the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, and His Majesty has forbidden anyone from disrupting it. Thus, there shouldn't be anyone who would dare act arrogantly against you. Alright, let's enter the city. On the main gate of the prefecture city, there were two gigantic characters formed from deity imprints, Calm Sea. These two characters emitted boundless might, and the two complex characters were actually incomparably profound arrays. Upon entering the Calm Sea prefecture city, a legion of soldiers came to receive them. The Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast was the greatest event of the deity world, and no mishaps could be tolerated. Calm Sea prefecture city, Bloodshed region. Within a chain of caves. This cave will temporarily belong to your Mountain Wu Star Field, the Legion soldier in charge of leading the way said. The soldier in charge of leading the way said, "We're surrounded by people from other star domains, and will send news of the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast to the Patrol Master. The Patrol Master will then inform the 16 deity experts under his command." Understood. Patrol Master Guan nodded. Patrol Master, please arrange for everyone to rest. We will immediately relay any news or orders from the Prefecture Master. Everything was arranged appropriately. Dongbua Shuang brought Jing Qiu, Yun Hai, and the rest to their caves. Calm Sea Prefecture capital. A dispirited man with a blade on his back looked at the majestic city in front of him. His eyes were filled with anticipation. I heard that many deities of the Xia people have come. It's been too long. It's been too long since we've gathered together. This dispirited man was Emperor Crimson Flame. I even sold my weapons to gather 20 divine crystals. That's how I managed to make it here. I heard from Yun Hai that Dongbua has already arrived at the Calm Sea Prefecture city. A grey-robed youth let out a long sigh of relief. Cultivating in the God world is really too difficult. Following Dongbo will make my days much easier. Calm Sea Prefecture capital. Amidst a group of soldiers, the amiable old man, the Purple Thunder Emperor, was also looking at the distant Calm Sea Prefecture capital with a smile on his face. Ha ha ha, they're here. We, the deities of the Xia people, have come to participate in the Myriad Flower Feast. A forthright man looked at the distant Calm Sea Prefecture city and revealed a hearty smile. In the Calm Sea Prefecture city, Dongbua Shuiying's temporary abode was filled with more and more people. All of them were the ancestral deities of the Xia people. Brother Purple Thunder, you've only sent a single deity avatar? The group of deities of the Xia people was incomparably happy as they once again drank to their heart's content. In the past, they had always communicated with each other through communication treasures or spatial imprints they had left in the Xia people. They had never met each other on such a large scale before. After all, they were scattered all over the place, and the teleportation fee for them to gather together was ridiculously high. There's no helping it. After joining the army, I can't just casually leave. But since I'm here to spectate, there's no difference between my true body and my deity avatar. The Purple Thunder Emperor laughed. He then turned to Crimson Flame. Come, Crimson Flame. Come, let's have a drink. Dragon Mountain, Dragon Mountain. Quick, Dongbua was born in your Dragon Mountain Empire. Come, come, the two of you should have a drink as well. Everyone was gathered here. Since they were all from the Xia people, they were naturally as close as brothers. Dongbua Shuang turned to the slightly dispirited Emperor Crimson Flame. He raised his cup and said, "Brother Crimson Flame, let me toast you. This title of yours is too tyrannical. You actually share the same name as a powerful existence." Ah! Emperor Crimson Flame was startled. Is that so? That's right. Dongbua Shuang grinned. Crimson Flame. The forefather who had saved his wife was none other than Chihua Laozu. But it was normal for experts in the deity world to share the same name. For instance, His Majesty Blood Blade would not be able to sense it even if someone were to shout it. After all, there were simply too many people who had mentioned it. For instance, countless people had mentioned the Bloodshed God Palace or the Bloodshed Tavern. Thus, the word bloodshed was too common. The same logic applied. The Temporal Island Lord would not be able to sense it even if others said the word spacetime. That was because the word spacetime was too common. Sensing it was usually a direct form of address. For instance, Temporal Island Lord. Blood Blade. Only such a form of address would be able to sense it. It seems my name isn't bad. Emperor Crimson Flame grinned. He had been too lonely, and now that he was with a group of Xia people, he felt a sense of joy and satisfaction that he hadn't felt in a long time. Oh, right. Dongbua. The Dragon Mountain Emperor looked at Dongbua Shuang and laughed. Are you confident in your chances of winning the prefecture capital battle of the Myriad Flower Feast? That's right. Dongbua, are you confident? We're all looking forward to your trip to the Bloodshed God Palace. When the time comes, we can take the opportunity to follow you there. The Bloodshed God Palace, I've heard that the teleportation fee is 100 deity crystals. Normally, we wouldn't be willing to go there. All of them looked at Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang continued, there are so many starfields in the Calm Sea Prefecture, and I've heard that there are a total of 32,000 deities who have passed the starfield selections. The prefectural capital battle was to select the strongest 100 out of the 32,000 participants. The elimination rate is simply too high, so I can only say that I'm confident, but I can't say that I'm absolutely certain. 32,000 deities, and the top 100? The Purple Thunder Emperor and the others were all startled. Many of them are disciples of powerful world deities, and some are even disciples of powerful existences. Some of them have cultivated for millions of years, Yunhai said from the side. It was too difficult. Dongbua Shuang and the deities of the Xia people were having a great time together. The other deities who had passed the selections from the various starfields were also preparing for the bloody elimination. The prefecture capital battle was the cruelest. The death rate had always been extremely high. In the Calm Sea Prefecture capital, within a side palace of the Prefecture Master's Palace, 5 existences were currently seated. Ha ha ha, a hearty laughter rang out, causing the surrounding void to tremble. A man whose entire body seemed to be made of black metal walked into the palace. He was a member of the metal race, and his name was infamous throughout the entire Calm Sea Prefecture. The name King Ronghai was enough to strike fear into the hearts of many world deities. Upon entering the palace, the black metal man bowed slightly toward the old man seated high above. Greetings, Prefecture Master. Ronghai, take a seat, the old man instructed. This old man seemed to be smiling amiably, but he was, without a doubt, the strongest expert in the entire Calm Sea Prefecture. He was also the prefecture master of the Calm Sea Prefecture. Yes. The black metal man swept his gaze across the area, noticing the 4 existences seated to the side. Each of them had a majestic aura that was not any weaker than his own. With a single glance, he noticed the white-robed plump man who was currently eating with his head lowered. His eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said, Brother White Sand, weren't you asleep? Why have you come to watch the battle? As he spoke, the black metal man chose a seat to the right of the White Sand City Lord. I was asleep, but I was woken up by a little fellow. The White Sand City Lord laughed. Who would be so daring? Did you eat him in a fit of anger? The black metal man asked in astonishment. I do like to eat, but I don't eat humans. The White Sand City Lord glared at him. It's a little fellow called Dongbua. A yellow-robed woman sitting opposite him laughed. He even participated in the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast. Oh? The black metal man was surprised. He's called Dongbua, and he'll be participating in the Starfield selections in the Mountain Wu Star Field. The White Sand City Lord stroked his beard and proudly said, This little brother is quite formidable. I'm very optimistic about him, and I feel that he'll definitely pass the prefecture capital battle. Star. Chapter 439. The yellow-robed woman immediately laughed. Big Brother White Sand, how many deities from the entire Calm Sea Prefecture have come to participate? There are also many who have rushed over from outside. Out of 32,000 deities, only 100 will be chosen. You really think too highly of that little brother Dongbua of yours. The yellow-robed woman laughed. Her voice was pleasing to the ears, and her delicate body trembled. Her loose yellow robes made it possible to see the curves of her body. However, she was a frightening stage 3 world deity known as the venomous Ying world deity. She specialized in poison. The sorcerer god that Dongbua Shuang had seen before paled in comparison to this venomous Ying world deity. You'll know when the time comes. The White Sand City Lord was too lazy to say anything else and continued eating. The others chatted as they ate. Everyone present was an intimidating existence, and it was rare for them to meet each other. Not long after, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master suddenly stood up and looked outside with a beaming smile. His actions startled the other 5, and they hurriedly stood up as well. Ha ha ha, Brother Long, a vigorous voice came from outside. An old man with snow-white hair and a snow-white beard walked in. He wore a thick black robe and stepped into the hall. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master walked down and took the initiative to welcome him. Brother Mo Shua, it's been a long time since we last met. I didn't think that you would come to the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast. Come, follow me to a seat. Then I won't stand on ceremony. The white-bearded old man and the Calm Sea Prefecture Master walked to a higher place and sat down. The moment the 5 heard the 2 words Mo Shua, they immediately guessed the identity of the newcomer. All of them hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Monarch Mo Shua. All of them were rather humble and polite. Monarch Mo Shua's fame was simply too great. He was an existence who had occupied a territory in the deity world and established an empire. He was a true overlord of the deity world, and he had even fought against powerful existences without losing. However, he was a stage 4 world deity who had lived for a very, very long time. Many world deities guessed that Monarch Mo Shua had lived for too long, and that he might not be able to protect his true deity heart and die at any time. Regardless, as long as he was alive, it was enough to intimidate everyone. Brother Mo Shua, let me introduce you. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master pointed at the second seat on the left. As for the first seat, it was empty. This is Mo Yun, a junior of my Calm Sea Prefecture. However, his cultivation speed is extremely fast, and he became a stage 3 world deity in just 10 million years. Mo Yun pays his respects to Monarch Mo Shua. The black-robed man bowed. It's good to be young. Monarch Mo Shua smiled and nodded from above. This is Marshal Qin. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master pointed at the silver-white armored woman beside the black-robed man. Marshal Qin is in charge of the North Wind Legion within my Calm Sea Prefecture. The silver-armored woman, Marshal Qin, also bowed. This is the venomous Ying world deity, someone who specializes in using poison. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master pointed at the yellow-robed woman, who softly said, Venomous Ying greets the monarch. Ha ha ha, I know you. Brother Pu Zong was poisoned by you and suffered a huge loss. Monarch Mo Shua laughed. Monarch Pu Zong did not bicker with me, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity said. If he did, I would not have been able to live until now. This is the White Sand City Lord. There's no need for me to explain in detail. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master laughed. I know him. He's that rat who steals food. Monarch Mo Shua laughed. The plump White Sand City Lord added, I've regretted it for so many years. I've always wanted to return to His Majesty's side. If someone else dared to call him a rat who steals food, the White Sand City Lord would have long since killed them. But in front of the Calm Sea Prefecture Master and Monarch Mo Shua, he was still very obedient. These two were old fellows with long reputations. There were differences between stage 4 world deities. Generally speaking, the older one was, the stronger they would become. Unfortunately, after reaching a certain point, they would either reincarnate or die from the collapse of their original heart. This is Rong Hai. He's somewhat foolish, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master said. He's from the metal race. The metal race is quite straightforward, Monarch Mo Shua added. King Rong Hai grinned. Right, straightforward. I'm very straightforward. Brother Mo Shua, why have you come to my place? The Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast can be seen in any prefecture city. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master asked. The two of them sat side by side on high ground, and Monarch Emo Shui laughed. I've come because my seventh daughter is also participating in the myriad flower feast. She's in your Calm Sea Prefecture right now. Seventh daughter? You have another daughter? The Calm Sea Prefecture Master was startled. Yes. Monarch Emo Shui nodded. You're quite amazing, old man. You're already so old. You've given birth to another daughter? The Calm Sea Prefecture Master sighed in amazement. Everyone says that it's extremely difficult for Stage 4 world deities to have children, but you've had one after another. You should have 7 daughters by now, right? Right, how's her comprehension ability? Monarch Emo Shui was an overlord who had lived for a very long time. Of his 6 daughters, the eldest had extremely high talent, becoming a Stage 3 world deity. The other 5 were somewhat weaker, and Monarch Emo Shui had spared no expense to barely allow them to step into the world deity realm. They were all Stage 1 world deities. My youngest daughter is very opinionated. Even my words are useless against her, Monarch Emo Shui praised. Monarch Emo Shui praised, but her perception is indeed not bad, not much different from my eldest daughter. Oh? Not bad. It seems that this youngest daughter of yours will be able to become a disciple of a powerful existence. Right, what's your youngest daughter's name? She disguised herself as a man and gave herself a name, 7th Mayu. Monarch Emo Shui shook his head. Disguised herself as a man. Ha ha ha, interesting. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master laughed. While the two of them were chatting, the 5 people below rarely interjected. However, they had all memorized the name 7th Mayu. If I recall correctly, among the deities of the Mountain Wu Starfield who passed the Starfield selections, other than little brother Dongbo, there's another person called 7th Mayu? The White Sand City Lord thought to himself. More than 2 hours passed. Who? A white-robed figure walked into the hall. The emissary has arrived. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master looked down. Monarch Emo Shui, the White Sand City Lord, the Emoyun City Lord, Marshal Qin, the venomous Ying world deity, and King Rong Hai were all looking at this white-robed figure. This was the emissary sent by the Bloodshed God Palace. Greetings, Prefecture Master. The white-robed figure respectfully bowed before raising his head. This humble one has come under the orders of His Majesty to preside over the prefecture capital battles of the Myriad Flower Feast. Prefecture Master, you may oversee the entire process. And then the Calm Sea Prefecture Master nodded. Emissary, please take a seat. Since you're here, I presume that the rules for the 3 selections have already been decided? The emissary walked to the first seat on the left and sat down before respectfully replying, it has already been decided. Then you can begin the arrangements. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master nodded. Approximately 32,000 deity experts had passed through the selections from various starfields within the Calm Sea Prefecture. In reality, many of them were not from the Calm Sea Prefecture. Some had come from the material world, while others had come from the Temporal Island or the Myriad God Palace. There were even some who had come from some of the more desolate empires. All of them were here to participate in the biggest event of the deity world. These experts were all waiting for the Calm Sea Prefecture's orders to begin the prefecture capital battles. Dongbua, a legion soldier, shouted from the entrance of the cave. Very soon, the door opened. Dongbua Shuang, along with Jing Qiu and a group of Xia people, came to welcome him. Dongbua Shuang immediately recognized this legion soldier as one of the soldiers led by Patrol Master Guan. The Patrol Master ordered me to deliver this to you. It contains the time and rules for the prefecture capital battles, as well as some simple arrangements. The Legion soldier handed over a golden scroll and said, the Patrol Master also said that you shouldn't run around for the next few days. The prefecture capital battles will begin in 3 days. I understand. Dongbua Shuang took the golden scroll, and the Legion soldier immediately left. Quick, take a look. The Purple Thunder Emperor, Yunhai, and the others were all watching from the side. Dongbua Shuang smiled as he unfurled the scroll. The process of the prefecture capital battles had always been the same, though there were some differences in the details. Ranking battle, arena battle, and survival battle. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The prefecture capital battles were split into 3 rounds. Ranking battle. Approximately 32,000 deity experts would participate in the ranking battle. Based on their results, the top 1,000 would be chosen. The rest would be eliminated. Arena battle. Of the 1,000 experts, 250 would be chosen. In the survival battle, the last 100 would be decided from the last 250. These 100 would represent the Calm Sea Prefecture and the Bloodshed God Palace, where they would participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle in front of the strongest existence in the deity world, His Majesty the Bloodshed God Palace, as well as other powerful existences. I've only cultivated for about 2,000 years. As long as I can enter the Bloodshed God Palace and let the powerful existences see me, I'll be able to become their disciple, Dongbua Shuang thought. Thus, I only have one goal, to enter the top 100. If I can participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, my participation in the Myriad Flower Feast will be considered a success. The top 100. Dongbua Shuang looked at the 3 rounds of the prefecture capital battles, his eyes flashing with sharpness. Star. Chapter 440. Within the courtyard, the Xia people were seated in groups of 2 or 3, eating, drinking, and chatting. The prefectural capital battles have a total of 3 rounds. The first round has already eliminated over 30,000 deities. The Purple Thunder Emperor shook his head and sighed. Out of 32,000 deities, only the top 1,000 will be selected. Only a dozen or so deities from each starfield can pass the preliminaries. Based on the ratio, it's normal for all the deities in a starfield to be wiped out in the ranking battles. I heard that the celestial starfield I'm from was completely wiped out in the ranking battles of the previous Myriad Flower Feast, Yunhai laughed. But I believe that with Dongbua's strength, he'll definitely be able to enter the top 1,000. Dongbua was able to deal with the fierce shaman warrior in a single move. Entering the top 1,000 shouldn't be a problem, the Dragon Mountain Emperor said. The group of Xia people was discussing among themselves. Dongbua Shuang laughed. Everyone, stop praising me. You're all more confident than I am. I also believe that Snow Eagle can do it, Jing Qiu, who was sitting beside him, said. It's a pity that the ranking battles aren't open to the public. We won't be able to see it at all. Right. It's actually not open to the public. What a pity, the Xia people all shook their heads and sighed. The prefectural capital battles were divided into 3 rounds. The first round was not open to the public. The arena battles and the survival battles were open to the public. After the ranking battles, the Calm Sea Prefecture would publicly announce the top 1,000 deities. Those on the list would then proceed to the next round. Those not on the list. That would be the end of it. Of course, many deities fought too hard and died in the ranking battles. The deities all had very long lifespans. 3 short days passed in the blink of an eye. Dongbua, the patrol master has invited you over. The prefectural capital battles are about to begin, a soldier from the army came to inform him. Lead the way. Dongbua Shuang left the room. Jing Qiu and the group of Xia people followed suit. Very quickly, they arrived at the patrol master's residence. A large group of people had already gathered there, and the place was bustling with activity. Because they were participating in the prefecture capital battle, many of these god-rank experts had brought along a group of friends. 16 deities, follow me. The rest of you, wait here, Patrol Master Guan said loudly. The ranking battles are not open to the public. None of you will be able to see them, and neither will I. Once the ranking battle is over and the rankings are made public, everything will naturally be known. Yes. Second brother, you have to be careful. If you can't take it, just give up. Don't lose your life. Lord Commander, we're counting on you. There were sounds everywhere. Dongbua Shuang also bade farewell to Jing Qiu, Yunhai, Violet Thunder, and the rest. After which, 7th Meiyu, Dongbua Shuang, and the rest of the 16 deity realm experts followed Patrol Master Guan and set off. Who? Groups of people descended from the sky like streams of light. After Dongbua Shui Ying's group landed, they surveyed their surroundings. Almost all of them were God realm experts. Of course, there were also the patrol lords. The manor head is up ahead, Patrol Master Guan suddenly said. Dongbua Shuang and the rest hurriedly raised their heads to look. There were 8 figures in the distance, and the one sitting at the center of the group was an amiable old man. Beside him was a white-bearded old man wearing a thick robe. Below the 2 of them were 6 figures, each of them emanating a vast and extraordinary aura. Dongbua Shuang recognized the person with a single glance. The White Sand City Lord. The chubby White Sand City Lord swept his gaze across the group of people below, and his gaze landed on Dongbua Shuang. He revealed a smile, and at the same time, a voice was transmitted directly into Dongbua Shuang's ears. Dongbua, I've already spoken to the manor head and the others. I said that you would definitely be able to enter the top 100 and participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle. Don't disappoint me. Dongbua Shuang felt helpless. This White Sand City Lord seemed to be more confident than him. At this moment, the white-bearded old man's gaze also swept over, landing on this region. The group of deity realm experts from the Mountain Wu Star Field, including Patrol Master Guan, felt their hearts tighten. What's going on? Why is he looking over here? Dongbua Shuang and the others were puzzled. Only 7th Meiyu turned to look elsewhere. The white-bearded old man smiled and continued chatting with the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord. Your Highness, 7th Meiyu. Patrol Master Guan smiled and asked, do you know that senior? I don't, the white-robed handsome youth, 7th Meiyu, coldly replied. Patrol Master Guan was startled, but he could only smile helplessly. Ordinary deities would not dare to speak to him in such a cold manner, but since this person had a stage 2 world deity as his subordinate, he was clearly not someone he could afford to provoke. This old man. Dongbua Shuang looked into the distance and began to ponder rapidly. Many images and information appeared in his mind. He was the master of Crimson Rock Mountain, so he knew quite a bit about the major figures of the deity world. For him to be able to sit shoulder to shoulder with the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord, he must be at least a stage 4 world deity. There are only so many stage 4 world deities in the deity world. From his appearance, is he Monarch Mo Shui? Good fellow. Dongbua Shuang muttered to himself. Monarch Mo Shui is one of the strongest stage 4 world deities, and he has lived for a very long time. His strength is probably comparable to my master, Sacred Master Crimson Dust. On the high platform, the emissary stood up and bowed to the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord. Prefecture Lord, since all the starfields have arrived, shall I begin? Go ahead. The Calm Sea Prefecture Lord nodded. The emissary immediately walked to the front of the high platform and looked down at the numerous figures in the distance. In a clear voice, he said, by His Majesty's orders, I will be the one to preside over the prefecture capital battle, with the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord overseeing it. His voice was vast and mighty, reverberating everywhere. Dongbua Shuang and the others all raised their heads and listened attentively. The previous Starfield selections were merely a threshold to select deity experts who could be considered strong, the emissary said. The prefecture capital battle is the true bloodbath. It will select the 100 most outstanding deity experts, who will then head to the Bloodshed God Palace. The final competition will be held in front of His Majesty and all the other powerful existences. The prefecture capital battle is divided into 3 rounds, and today will be the first round, the ranking battles. The emissary waved his hand as he spoke. A scroll appeared in his hand, and as he threw it, it rapidly grew in size. This scroll was over 100 million kilometers long, and it floated high in the sky like a heavenly curtain. Following that, the huge scroll slowly unfurled. Within the scroll, one could vaguely see a world of its own, with mountains, rivers, and rivers. Every time, I will send 1,000 deity experts in. The emissary's voice was vast and mighty, reverberating in everyone's ears. Batch by batch, when 31,865 deity experts have finished their battles, the ranking battles will come to an end. A detailed ranking will be determined based on the number of enemies you have killed, and the top 1,000 will be announced. As for the next 1,000, all of you will be eliminated. As for the rules, you should all be aware of them. The use of world deity treasures, blood-refined deity weapons, and other such items are prohibited, as well as some special treasures. Once discovered, you will be immediately executed, the emissary coldly instructed. If you find yourself unable to resist, just shout out that you admit defeat, and I will teleport you out. The emissary coldly explained the rules. As an emissary of His Majesty Blood Blade, he was not afraid of anyone. Even powerful existences were not allowed to cause trouble. Daring to disrupt the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast was tantamount to provoking His Majesty. The prefecture capital battle has begun. The Bloodshed God Palace's emissary said coldly. The first batch will enter first. Hua! As he spoke, an invisible energy enveloped the area below him. As a Stage 3 world deity, he easily grabbed 1,000 deity experts. In an instant, 1,000 figures were involuntarily dragged into the huge scroll in the sky. Upon touching the scroll, they were all sucked into it. Dongbua Shuang and the other 30,000 deity experts all raised their heads to look at the huge scroll in the sky. Chapter 441. A few moments later, a blood-soaked figure was expelled from the giant scroll, falling from the sky. The deity expert regained his consciousness in midair, his face full of fear. He immediately realized that everyone below was looking at him, so he awkwardly descended to his original location. After all, he had been defeated too quickly, and it was too embarrassing. Whoosh, 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 the scroll was hundreds of millions of kilometers long, and as time passed, more and more heavily injured experts were expelled out of the scroll. More and more experts were expelled out of the scroll, and some even revealed their true forms. For example, there were experts from the beast race, whose bodies were tens of thousands of kilometers long. There were also some rare creatures from the outsider race that revealed their true forms. After all, some techniques were more powerful when used in their true forms. Blood of various colors scattered in midair. Red blood, purple blood, green blood, some of the expelled bodies had been torn apart before they could reform. As a deity, as long as their true deity heart was not destroyed, they could live. How was it? How was it inside? What's the situation inside the scroll world? Many deity experts surrounded the expelled experts and asked. The expelled expert's bloodstains had already disappeared, but his face was still pale. He had yet to calm down. He frowned as he looked left and right, unwilling to say much. You will know once you enter. Dongbua Shuang also looked around. Those who had survived were unwilling to say much. After all, they were surrounded by competitors. Gradually, the number of expelled experts in the sky decreased. Occasionally, there would only be one. Hua! Another tall, silver-haired youth was expelled from the scroll world. He immediately stopped and frowned. The first batch is over. The Bloodshed God Palace emissary coldly said from the distant platform. His voice reverberated throughout the world. The silver-haired youth, who was the last to be expelled, revealed a smile. He was clearly the last one to come out. Let me remind you once more. The ranking battle is based on your achievements in killing enemies. It is not based on how long you stay in the scroll world. The longer you stay does not help your ranking. For example, the last person to come out of the first batch would be ranked below 200th, the Bloodshed God Palace emissary said coldly. Next batch. The silver-haired youth was stunned, and his face turned red. He was furious, but he did not dare to vent his anger on the Bloodshed God Palace emissary. He immediately descended and remained silent. The Bloodshed God Palace's emissaries' majestic power once again enveloped the 1,000 deity experts. All of them involuntarily soared into the sky like pebbles falling into a lake, disappearing into the giant scroll in the sky. In the first batch of 1,000, only 395 survived. Dongbua Shuang had been observing and could easily calculate the numbers. What about the remaining 605 God-grade experts? Did they all die inside? This is only the first round of the prefecture capital battle. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. The mortality rate was too high. Ah! A shrill scream reverberated in the sky. Fresh blood splattered in the air as a broken body was expelled. Only then did it begin to condense in midair. It condensed into a small, thin, gray-robed youth. He looked around in a somewhat sorry state and hastily flew back to his position. The second batch of people that entered were also being expelled. One after another, the heavily injured figures were repelled. Boom! An enormous two-headed monster appeared in midair. Then, it rapidly condensed into a human form and descended. The majority of those expelled were heavily injured. Clearly, none of them would easily give up until the very last moment. Being able to pass through the Starfield selections, they all had their own pride. Batch after batch, in the blink of an eye, 10 batches had already entered. The 16 deity experts of the Mountain Wu Starfield had yet to be chosen. The 10th batch has ended. As of now, there are already 10,000 deity experts. The Bloodshed God Palace emissary swept his gaze across the crowd with a cold gaze. You overestimate yourselves. You overestimate yourselves too much. You've already sensed the danger and are starting to get injured, yet you still want to persevere and kill more enemies. However, the enemy's strength might suddenly surpass your limits, so much so that you won't even have the chance to admit defeat before dying. Alright, next batch. Hua! The 11th batch was enveloped, and all of them were pulled into the sky. Dongbua Shuang immediately discovered that there were people from his Mountain Wu Star Field being pulled in this time. However, only 7 people from his Mountain Wu Star Field had been pulled in, and one of them was the red-haired man with the extremely baleful aura. Gradually, they were eliminated one by one. The red-haired man was also expelled. His injuries were extremely severe, but he quickly recovered in midair. After landing, he coldly raised his head and looked at the giant scroll in the sky, as well as the other experts who had been expelled. Finally, it was the 12th batch's turn. The emissary on the high platform looked down, his gaze sweeping across the Mountain Wu Star Field. As the host of the prefecture capital battle, he naturally had access to a large amount of information. He knew which of the deity experts from the Calm Sea prefecture were dazzling enough, and which of them had extremely powerful backgrounds. He would also separate them into batches so that he could observe them more closely. Phew! An invisible force enveloped him. Me? Dongbua Shuang immediately felt himself being enveloped by that invisible force. In the blink of an eye, he shot into the sky, flying towards the giant scroll. As he raised his head, he saw that the giant scroll was getting closer and closer to him. Pooh! Just like the other deity experts, he slammed into the scroll. Before he slammed into it, Dongbua Shuang discovered that the person flying towards the scroll with him was Her Highness 7th Meiyu, whom he was rather familiar with. Brother Emo Shui, your daughter has entered. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master also looked at the scroll. His gaze easily pierced through the barrier of the scroll world, looking into its interior. He saw the situation of the 1,000 deity experts, and naturally, he discovered 7th Meiyu as well. Brother Long, why don't you take a look at my little daughter? Monarch Emo Shui stroked his snow-white beard in a rather pleased manner. His gaze similarly pierced through the barrier of the scroll world, looking into its interior and observing everything. This batch is interesting. The yellow-robed venomous in-world deity laughed. There's Monarch Emo Shui's daughter, Zhang Xiao, the inner disciple of the primal ivory powerhouse, and that little fellow named Dongbua that Brother White Sand thinks highly of. Let's all make a bet on who do you think will be the strongest in this batch. Dongbua. The White Sand City Lord stroked his beard as he swept his gaze across the surroundings. Your Highness 7th Mayu, the silver-armored Marshal Qin casually said as she raised her cup of wine. Then I'll bet on the one called Zhang Shao. He was able to rise from a nobody to become an inner disciple of a powerful existence. His comprehension ability isn't low at all, the handsome Mo Yun added. The yellow-robed woman hurriedly shouted, Big brother Ronghai, what about you? King Ronghai laughed. Following brother Mo Yun is definitely the right choice. I'll also choose Zhang Shao. Little sister Venomous Ying, you haven't made your choice yet. As a woman, I'll naturally choose Her Highness 7th Mayu, the yellow-robed woman said. I'll also make a bet. I'll choose my own daughter. Monarch Mo Shui laughed from above. If I lose, each of you will receive a flask of bamboo flame snow nectar. Since that's the case, I'll also bet on Zhang Shao. I know that little fellow's strength, and he's not bad, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master said. If I lose, each of the winners will receive a Calm Sea Spirit Pearl. Bamboo Flame Snow Nectar, it's unique to the Mo Shui Empire. Even though this junior is the host, I can't help myself. I'll also bet on Zhang Shao. The emissary laughed. At that moment, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity said, a total of 8 people. 4 will bet on Zhang Shao, and 3 on Her Highness 7th Mayu. Big brother White Sand, you're the only one who'll choose your brother Dongbua. The White Sand City Lord glared. The Prefecture Master and the Monarch have both taken out their bets. What about the rest of you? Hurry up and take them out. Even though he was shouting arrogantly, the White Sand City Lord was inwardly anxious. Brother Dongbua, you must not let me down. He had long since said that he favored Dongbua. Thus, even if he were to really bet, he would still stand on Dongbua Shuiying's side for the sake of his reputation. But deep in his heart, even though the White Sand City Lord believed that Dongbua Shuiying had a chance of entering the top 100, he was not confident that he could compete with Zhang Shao and 7th Mayu. After all, Zhang Shao had a powerful existence guiding him in his cultivation, while 7th Mayu had her father guiding her. Monarch Mo Shui might be weaker in terms of realm compared to powerful existences, but he would definitely do his best to help his daughter. But even if he was not confident, he still had to hold on for the sake of his reputation. The White Sand City Lord looked up at the sky. The emissary from the Bloodshed God Palace did not obstruct the spectators from watching the battle from the high platform. The White Sand City Lord's gaze pierced through the scroll world and landed on one of the more desolate areas. Shuiying was currently standing on a beach. Chapter 442. Island, Ocean. Dongbua Shuiying landed on the beach of the island. The sand was as white as snow, without any dirt on it. The heaven and earth light within the scroll world was slightly cold. Shuiying looked around him, and with a glance, he saw an hourglass floating in midair. Within the hourglass, there was a glowing time sand. The time sand had already begun flowing. Who? Black energy gathered on the island, forming 10 black-robed men. They were dressed in the same robes, and even their appearances were the same. However, the weapons they carried were different. Some were wielding dual swords, some were spears, some were short spears, some were whips, and some were chains. The moment they appeared, they charged towards Nye Tian. Some of them flew at high speed, some instantly passed through the Mirage Realm, some hid in the shadow space, and some transformed into flames. The way they charged towards Nye Tian was different, and their fighting styles were also different. Come. With a thought, a starry blue-robed Dongbua Shuiying appeared beside Dongbua Shuiying. The 2 Dongbua Shuiying each held a spear. One was a black spear, and the other was a fiery red spear. The one holding the fiery red spear was the Mirage True Body. The more I kill, the higher my ranking will be. Let's kill. The 2 Dongbua Shuiying moved at the same time. Pooh! The spear pierced through the chest of one of the black-robed men in front of Nye Tian. The black-robed man dissipated. The hourglass in the air immediately turned upside down and started flowing again. Shio shio shio. The Mirage true body shot out 3 consecutive spears, each imbued with the profundity of extreme piercing. They instantly pierced through the throats of 3 black-robed men attacking from different directions. The hourglass in the air immediately turned upside down and started flowing again. They were too lazy to use their secret techniques. With the speed and strength of the third-level time immemorial body, Nye Tian could kill them easily even if he used the profundity of extreme piercing and star force. Every time he killed one, a new black-robed man would appear on the island. The sand of time in the hourglass would also turn upside down and start flowing again. When the enemy was not killed for a long time, the sand of time would be expelled. However, most of them surrendered voluntarily or died in battle. Very few of them were expelled because of the sand of time. Their strength increased so quickly. Dongbua Shuang frowned. He killed them very quickly. His main body and his Mirage true body fought at the same time, and their strength and profundity of laws were increasing as well. However, the black-robed man who was born later on became even stronger. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the black-robed man's strength had risen to the threshold of world deity. This was not just in terms of strength and speed, but also in the laws of profound mysteries. Furthermore, they would surround and attack him at the same time, forcing Shuang to increase his speed in dealing with them one by one. He did not dare to let them surround him. Fortunately, they were scattered all over the island. As long as Shuang continued to move and kill his enemies, they would not be able to surround him. I have to use my secret technique. When Dongbua Shuang faced an enemy who had reached the threshold of a world deity, the spear technique he displayed changed. His main move was the chaotic suppression, which was more inclined towards strength. Pang pang pang. The long spear swept out in succession, and wherever the long spear passed, the surroundings fell into darkness and began to collapse. The first spear strike caused the shield in the black-robed man's hand to scatter. The second spear strike struck his chest, causing it to cave in. The third spear strike directly shattered the black-robed man's body. Violence. Rude and unreasonable. Dongbua Shuang appeared to be very reserved, but the techniques he was using now were more ferocious. However, he only managed to kill one of the black-clothed men with 3 consecutive spear strikes. The other black-clothed men had already started to surround him, and a new, stronger black-clothed man was born in the distance. This made Dongbua Shuang feel pressured. Every time he used the chaotic suppression, he would gain new insights. Not ruthless enough. The energy transfer isn't smooth enough. If it's truly smooth, I should be able to completely transmit it into his body without being affected by his weapon. With that, I should be able to kill him in one move. The pressure was increasing, but Dongbua Shuang was extremely excited. This was exactly what he needed. Moreover, the 10 opponents had different styles, and the laws of profound mysteries they displayed were completely different. This kind of pressure was much better than burying his head in cultivation. Hoo, one by one, the heavily injured figures on the huge scroll were repelled and dropped. Dongbua and His Highness 7th Mayu have yet to come out. The two of them are extremely powerful. I wonder how long they can last. Everyone in Mountain Wu Star Field was discussing this matter. TSK. Old brother White Sand, this little brother Dongbua of yours should have learned a world deity secret technique, right? Moreover, his realm is quite high. Every move he makes is so powerful. King Rong Hai looked at the battle taking place in the sky and sighed in admiration. He even has a mirage avatar. TSK, his killing speed is on par with His Highness 7th Mayu. He's even faster than Zhang Shao. This Dongbua is still relying on his mirage avatar. His Highness 7th Mayu is truly fast, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity praised. His Highness 7th Mayu's swordsmanship and movement technique are truly perfect, the Ink Cloud City Lord praised. Ha ha ha. Monarch Imo Shui laughed from above. They could clearly see the battle taking place within the enormous scroll. Her Highness 7th Mayu was within a forest, surrounded by numerous black-robed men. However, 7th Mayu had already transformed into an illusion. Misty illusions appeared all around her, and every single one of these illusions was brandishing their swords to kill her enemies. There were even petals floating around her, each of which contained a terrifying might as they wantonly reaped the lives of the black-robed men. Her Highness's sword is sufficiently cold and straightforward. Marshal Qin revealed a smile. Through her sword technique, I can feel her will. Her will and sword have fused as one, allowing her to kill all her enemies. For Her Highness to be able to create such a sword technique and have such an unshakable will, I believe that if this continues, she'll definitely break through the final barrier and become a world deity. It seems like we're going to win, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity said. Don't celebrate too early. The emissary beside her chuckled. Zhang Xiao hasn't used his full strength yet, but he's starting to do so now. Zhang Xiao was using a pair of blades. Previously, he had relied on a world deity secret technique to use ordinary blade techniques, but now, he was revealing his own blade technique secret technique. Two bewitching blood-colored streams of light flickered time and time again, each flash accompanied by an ear-piercing whistling sound as if a bird was crying out in pain. The black-robed men were continuously being killed amidst the whistling sounds. His killing speed immediately soared, clearly surpassing that of Dongbu Shuaying and 7th Mayu. Naturally, the number of black-robed men he was killing soared higher and higher. He's surpassed them. The Ink Cloud City Lord chuckled. He's already the fastest of them all. Zhang Zhao's blade technique is none other than a blade technique of slaughter. On the beach, Dongbu Shuang was still fighting to his heart's content. The efficiency of his chaotic suppression was getting lower and lower. After all, it was a technique that focused more on pure strength. The 10 black-robed men specialized in different aspects, and some of them had extremely strong defenses, allowing them to resist Dongbu Shuaying's spear technique. Dongbu Shuaying and his Mirage True Body worked together to fight with all their might. Even so, they still couldn't hold on much longer. Not enough strength? Then I'll just have to increase my strength. The great chaotic true force within Dongbu Shuaying's body began to surge, and the great chaotic true force, which he had cultivated to the pinnacle of the deity realm, was immediately unleashed. The power of his spear abruptly increased. Pang! The black-robed men who could not be killed even after 8 to 10 moves were instantly blasted apart by a single sweep of the spear. They were both at the pinnacle of the deity realm, but the great chaotic true force was clearly stronger than the time immemorial body. Pang 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 pang. One by one, the black-robed men were blasted apart. No matter how strong they were, the spear would crush them with pure strength. This was also the reason why Dongbu Shuang did not use the great chaotic true force previously. Only when one's strength was close would it have the effect of tempering oneself. Otherwise, the effect would be too weak. Clearly, as the black-robed men grew stronger, Dongbu Shuaying's strength also grew stronger. Chapter 443. The great chaotic true force combined with the chaotic suppression was naturally very effective. The black-robed men that he had created were constantly being destroyed. Only after he had destroyed 30 of them did he meet an opponent that could exchange a few blows with him. This is more interesting. Shuang was fighting to his heart's content with a black-robed man who had turned into a lightning. This lightning black-robed man wielded 2 spears, and his movement speed far surpassed Shuaying's. Every move he sent enveloped Shuang. His attacks were extremely fast. Although Dongbu Shuaying's speed was not as fast as the black-robed man, he could still sweep and whip his spear. With each sweep of the spear, a large group of black-robed men would be struck. With each whip, another large group of black-robed men would be struck. This made it very difficult for Dongbu Shuang to dodge. Furthermore, his spear technique could produce a terrifying gravitational force that could cause the world to collapse. It didn't matter if one was hiding in the Mirage realm or the Shadow realm. The chaotic hole was originally one of the final forms of the world. Shuaying's chaotic suppression secret skill already had a few hints of the color of a chaotic hole. As long as the spear brushed past them, those with weaker bodies would immediately explode. Even those with stronger bodies would be heavily injured. In just 2 or 3 blows, they would die. It's getting harder and harder. His Mirage Realm body fought against a black-robed man with extremely strong defenses. After more than 10 exchanges, he was still unable to kill his opponent. His true body continued to kill the other opponents that he could restrain. The ranking battle isn't too difficult. After all, there are only 10 opponents at any given moment. I can't increase the number of opponents. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Furthermore, the strength of these black-robed men will gradually increase. To me, this is a rare opportunity to train. Dongbua Shuang was completely immersed in his spear technique. Almost all of his moves were the chaotic suppression. This was a secret technique that Dongbua Shuang constantly pursued to the extreme. This was a dark, desolate plain. Hua, Zhang Zhao's face was ugly, and there were 2 scars on his face. After becoming a deity, he could easily get rid of the scars, but Zhang Zhao still kept them. Wielding 2 blades, his figure was like a ghost, disappearing and reappearing again and again in this dark wasteland. He could appear anywhere in the surroundings at any time. His 2 blades had even turned into a demonic blood-red blade light. The saber light whistled, ear-piercing and mournful. The black-clothed men were cut down one by one, as if they were harvesting wheat. The speed at which Zhang Zhao killed his enemies was simply too fast, especially after he used his secret skill. This reckless cutting speed was even above that of Dongbua Shuang and 7th Meiyu. His eyes were filled with coldness, and he mercilessly slashed at will, displaying his saber skills to his heart's content. This was a pure killing saber technique. Clang clang. Their weapons clashed, and Zhang Zhao's figure flickered. A strange saber light slashed out, cutting down another black-clothed man. It's starting to get obstructed. Zhang Zhao knew this, but he still showed no mercy. Gradually, the strength of the black-clothed men grew stronger and stronger. At first, there was a man with a strong defense who could fight him. Then, there was a man with a faster speed who could also fight him. As time went on, the black-clothed men became more and more difficult to kill. Pooh! When a sword slashed across Zhang Zhao's body, blood splattered. I concede. Zhang Zhao's cold eyes did not waver in the slightest. He was cold to his enemies, and cold to himself. He had long since set the rule that he would concede the first time he was injured. No matter how light the injury, he had to concede. Who? A wave of energy enveloped Zhang Zhao, and he was immediately transported out of the world of the scroll. He was expelled into the air. He raised his head to look at the enormous scroll in the sky, as well as the deity experts who were occasionally expelled. Clearly, Zhang Zhao had not been able to fight for long in this world. However, he was very confident. His killing speed was simply too fast. In fact, he could kill 10 times faster than an ordinary deity. Whoosh! Zhang Zhao descended to the ground. He was extremely calm, confident in himself. Zhang Zhao has conceded. Everyone on the high platform was paying close attention to the battle. The emissary even laughed. He might have admitted defeat, but his killing speed is truly fast. After using his secret skill, his speed far exceeds that of Dongbo and His Highness 7th Meiyu. He might have been the first to concede, but his killing speed far exceeds that of Dongbua and 7th Meiyu. That's hard to say. Look at how fast Dongbua is killing, the White Sand City Lord said. They could clearly see Dongbua Shuang unleashing his great chaotic true force and slaughtering his enemies. However, his killing speed had already begun to slow down. His strength is truly powerful. It's a pure world deity-grade secret technique. Marshal Qin nodded in praise. His secret technique is quite suitable for unleashing his strength, but he's reached a bottleneck. I'm afraid he won't be able to increase his strength any further. His secret technique is already formidable enough, and it won't be long before it stops. It's indeed starting to slow down, but he'll probably end up a level lower than Zhang Zhao. The venomous Ying world deity agreed. His Highness 7th Meiyu is truly formidable. His Highness has yet to reach his limit. Indeed. Marshal Qin agreed. This brat's sword technique isn't just fast, it's exquisite as well. The calm Sea Prefecture master smiled as he evaluated. In terms of sword techniques, this brat's speed is above Dongbua and Zhang Xiao. However, her sword techniques are even more perfect, allowing her to kill her enemies with a single strike. If she can't kill them with a single strike, she'll use 8 or 10 consecutive strikes. Her sword technique is like a trap, easily trapping the enemy. Furthermore, her sword technique has even formed its own domain. It's truly a perfect secret technique. She even possesses a domain. In my opinion, she's even more formidable than Zhang Xiao. I'm getting old, and I've made a mistake this time. I'm going to lose. Ha ha ha. Monarch Imo Shui burst into laughter. This daughter of mine truly pursues perfection. If she can kill her enemies with just a sliver of her strength, she definitely won't use any more. She clearly has quite a few world deity grade secret techniques, yet she's never been in a rush to use them. The calm Sea Prefecture master shook his head. Formidable. Truly formidable. Everyone below was gradually discovering how formidable 7th Meiyu was. 7th Meiyu's killing speed wasn't as fast as Dongbua Shuiying's, nor was it as fast as Zhang Zhao's. However, her sword techniques gave them a sense of perfection. In the deity realm, even stage 3 world deities felt that she was perfect in every aspect. Even when facing a difficult opponent, 7th Meiyu had a way to deal with them. She killed them one by one. If she couldn't deal with them, she would even switch to another world deity grade secret technique. That's right. 7th Meiyu had many world deity grade secret techniques, and from the way they watched the battle, they could guess that she had at least 4 world deity grade secret techniques at her disposal. She was far above Zhang Xiao. She was killing and harvesting without stop. 7th Meiyu was incomparably calm. To her, displaying her sword techniques was a form of enjoyment, a form of absolute enjoyment. Gradually, Dongbua Shuiying's spear techniques were no longer able to suppress her enemies, and her killing had fallen into a predicament. She had surpassed Dongbua Shuiying, and was even gradually surpassing Zhang Zhao's achievements. You said that her talent and comprehension are comparable to that of your eldest daughter. That is indeed true. The calm Sea Prefecture master raised his head to look at the scene within the giant scroll, then turned to smile. Old man, you really know how to give birth, and you even know how to teach your child. How did you teach your youngest daughter? Oh. Monarch Imo Shui laughed. I hope to see her become a stage 3 world deity. At that time, I'll seal my memories and reincarnate, so there'll be nothing to worry about. Imo Shui, how much longer can you hold on for? The calm Sea Prefecture master transmitted. Hold on for what? I usually hide in my Eden to control the flow of time, Monarch Imo Shui replied. Old dragon, I really don't dare to reincarnate. After all, I've lived for far too long, and I've been implicated in too many grudges. I'll just have to drag it out until I can't hold on any longer. At that point, I'll have no choice but to seal my memories and reincarnate. Sealing one's memories and reincarnating. It was similarly dangerous. It would be fine if one could become a deity and awaken their memories, but if one were to cultivate step by step from a mortal without even becoming a deity, they would die forever. As a result, there were a few old world deities who chose to seal their memories and reincarnate, never to be heard from again. After all, without the advantage of their memories, they might be born a slave, unable to even come into contact with cultivation techniques. They might even be used as experimental materials by mages to test their souls, causing their souls to scatter. All of these were very possible. I envy you, old dragon. You were born as a mutated beast, so your temperament is weak, making it easier for you to guard your heart, Monarch Imo Shui transmitted. Without stepping out of the river of time and transcending the shackles, there is no such thing as true immortality, the calm Sea Prefecture master added. These two old fellows had lived for a long time, so they naturally had a common language. If I die, I won't care about anything else. However, I hope that you can take care of my daughters when you can, Monarch Mo Shui transmitted. If I can help, I'll naturally do my best. Moreover, your daughter should be able to take on a powerful existence as her master. The Calm Sea Prefecture master nodded. He then raised his head to look at the sky and laughed. Brother Mo Shui, your youngest daughter has also come out. Monarch Mo Shui raised his head and saw Her Highness, 7th Meiyu, who had been expelled. 7th Meiyu was still dressed in white, though there were some bloodstains on her palms. The bloodstains instantly disappeared, and she safely descended. Chapter 444. With our meager strength, there's no hope for us. Still, being able to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast and witness such a scene is worth it. Two deities were chatting as they looked around them. The Starfield Patrol Guards were all world deities, and their auras were vast and mighty. Nearly 2,000 world deities. There's also the Calm Sea Prefecture's second-rank legion, the Calm Sea Legion. One of them, a tall and skinny man, looked at the distant high platform. The platform was suffused with pressure, and even King Ronghai, who was seated at the edge, was enough to make these deity experts tremble from the bottom of their hearts. There was no need to even mention the Calm Sea Prefecture Master and Monarch Mo Shui, who were as ancient as the world itself. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master and Monarch Mo Shui sat there as if they were the beginning and the end of everything. They were the core of the laws of the world. This formless pressure was an instinctive reverence for life. It's truly worth it to be able to witness such a thing. Aside from this moment, we'll probably never get to see an existence like the Calm Sea Prefecture Master in our entire lives. Despite their fear and reverence, many deity experts were secretly watching. Everything they experienced this time would become a topic of conversation for many years to come. After all, only 100 deities were qualified to represent the Calm Sea Prefecture at the Bloodshed God Palace. Who? 7th Meiyu descended to the side of the mountain with Starfield Patrol Guards. She looked around. Brother Dongbua isn't done yet? Dongbua Shuang was indeed not done yet. He was in a sorry state, and his chaotic suppression was no longer of much use. With the help of his mirage body, he was barely holding on, constantly using chaotic suppression. He was doing his best to maintain this state for as long as possible, but the black-robed men were gradually encircling him. Good, very good. The chaotic suppression truly has too many flaws. Under the extreme pressure, Shuang felt an even greater desire for this move of his. His heart was filled with joy. One of his main goals in participating in the Myriad Flower Feast was to temper himself through combat so that he could grasp hold of the Grade 1 deity heart, the chaotic deity heart, as soon as possible. That way, he would be able to become a Stage 2 world deity. I can't hold on any longer. These black-robed men are too strong. I can't hold on any longer. Dongbua Shui Ying's spear technique changed. Whoosh! The originally brutal chaotic hole suppression suddenly changed its trajectory, drawing an arc with terrifying penetrative power. A scene of a star expanding, exploding, and rapidly collapsing and annihilating appeared around the spear. The tip of the spear instantly pierced through the chest of the black-clothed man in front of him, causing him to shatter and dissipate. Secret skill, Star Meteor Annihilation. In terms of strength, the chaotic hole crush was the strongest. However, combat wasn't just about strength. In terms of ultimate moves, the Star Meteor Annihilation was the strongest ultimate move. Moreover, Dongbua Shuang had many other secret techniques. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. For a moment, countless spear shadows streaked across the sky, faintly resembling the phantom of a meteor. In an instant, the 8 black-robed men were forced to retreat. Secret skill, Stellar Cluster. As Dongbua Shuang executed all of his secret techniques, it was extremely difficult for the men in black to surround him, and they were easily killed. Their physical defenses were strong enough to withstand the whipping, but not many of them could withstand the piercing power of Star Meteor Annihilation. Ha ha ha. The White Sand City Lord, who had been keeping a low profile and eating, suddenly stood up and laughed. I told you that my brother Dongbua is the strongest. Look, TSK, this strength, this speed of slaughter, it's too early for you to be happy. So many secret skills. Extreme piercing. Mirage. Star. Space. A brat like him has grasped 4 grade 2 deity hearts. And he has grasped so many secret skills. Especially the Mirage deity heart, which allows him to have a Mirage body. It's the same as having 2 of them fighting together. Martial Qin, the venomous Ying world deity, the Ink Cloud City Lord, King Ronghai, and the emissary of the Bloodshed God Palace were all shocked. Previously, Dongbua Shuang had only used brute force. Although he had occasionally used extreme piercing, the only secret skill he had used was the chaotic hole crush. This had led them to believe that Dongbua Shuang had only grasped one secret skill. Kill. Just the star meteor annihilation alone was already more effective than the chaotic hole crush. Not to mention the fact that he had so many secret skills. In a short period of time, Black-robed man after Black-robed man was killed. Not long after, Dongbua Shuaying's kill count had surpassed Zhang Zhao's. He is indeed stronger than Zhang Zhao, but there should be a gap between him and Her Highness 7th Meiyu, Martial Qin said softly. Let's wait and see. The Ink Cloud City Lord frowned. Of the 8 present, 4 had bet on Zhang Zhao, including the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord. They had first eliminated Dongbua Shuaying and then 7th Meiyu. This was because they felt that Her Highness 7th Meiyu might have been nurtured by Monarch Mo Shua, but her comprehension ability might not be high enough. She might not be able to compare to Zhang Zhao, who had risen from the bottom. In reality, however, Her Highness 7th Meiyu was truly a genius. She had a complete set of secret skills, and they were all extremely perfect. Currently, the one who was the least favored, the one called Dong Bo, who seemed to only know how to use brute force, actually knew other moves? Was his previous arrogance just a lie? His secret skill is also quite perfect, but it's still a bit lacking compared to Her Highness 7th Meiyu. He has only cultivated for a short period of time, while Her Highness 7th Meiyu has cultivated for more than 80,000 years. This Dongbua has only cultivated for 2,000 years, so it's normal for him to have some flaws in his secret skill. However, he has the Mirage deity heart, which means that there are 2 of him fighting at the same time. Furthermore, his Mirage body doesn't fear death, which is why I feel that he might be able to kill more enemies than Her Highness 7th Meiyu. Time passed second by second. Dongbua Shuaying's battle was getting more and more strenuous. After all, the black-clothed men were endlessly improving, and they would eventually catch up to him. Hong Long, the attacks of these black-clothed men were already extremely terrifying. Every single one of them could easily kill the fierce shaman warrior. Let's begin the final fight. Dongbua Shuang was starting to fight with his life on the line, even using his body to block the attacks. Time immemorial body. It was the best at preserving his life. Back in Crimson Rock Mountain, Dongbua Shuang had tested the limits of the 3rd level of his time immemorial body, as well as the limits of the 4th level. That was why he was so confident. Good fellow. He cultivates a world deity grade secret technique that allows him to preserve his life. Furthermore, he has cultivated it to the grand circle of the deity realm. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master, Monarch Mo Shua, and the others who were watching from the high platform could not help but laugh. The 2 old men even exchanged glances and laughed. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master even laughed. Ha ha ha, who would have thought that the 2 of us would lose? I've won. I've killed everyone, I've killed everyone. The White Sand City Lord grinned from ear to ear. Previously, Dongbua Shuaying's kill count was close to that of 7th Meiyu's, especially after he used his body to block the attacks. The yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity, Martial Qin, the Ink Cloud City Lord, King Ronghai, and the emissary of the Bloodshed God Palace all felt helpless, but they had nothing to say. They had lost wholeheartedly. This Dongbo's combat power was indeed stronger. From what they could see, he had at least 2 world deity grade secret techniques, and both of them had been cultivated to the pinnacle of the deity realm. It must be stated that there were quite a few who had obtained world deity grade secret techniques, but reaching the pinnacle of the deity realm was extremely difficult. His great chaotic true force had reached the pinnacle of the deity realm, and Dongbua Shuang had only broken through after passing through the starfield selections. As for his time immemorial body, he had broken through after reaching the stage 3 realm of the grade 1 true meaning of the world. I admit defeat. Dongbua Ying's body was indeed tough enough. The black-robed men were unable to injure him, but they were still able to surround Dongbua Ying's true body and surround him. He did not continue fighting and immediately admitted defeat. Hua! He was expelled and appeared in midair. Dongbua Ying could see the large number of figures below him. At the same time, a voice rang in his ears, "The 12th batch has ended." This voice reverberated throughout the entire world. For a time, all the spectators below turned their gazes towards Dongbua Ying in midair. Even the existences on the high platform looked at him. Because, Dongbua Ying had indeed dragged on for a very long time. Relying on his immortal body, he dragged on the battle until the very end. I'm really the last one to come out. Dongbua Ying thought, I wonder what my ranking will be. Dongbua Ying immediately flew in the direction of the Mountain Wu star field. At another location, Zhang Xiao coldly looked at the descending Dongbua Ying. He had come out very early. So what if he's the last one to come out? This brat might not even be able to enter the top 1000. Brother Dongbua, not bad, not bad. You're really not bad. After the prefecture capital battle ends, I have a gift for you. On the high platform, the White Sand City Lord was beaming as he looked at the descending Shuang. He had even transmitted a message directly into Ying's ears. He was truly happy because he had won this wager. Hearing the voice of the White Sand City Lord, Dongbua Ying jumped in fright. He quickly descended. The white-robed handsome teenager, His Highness 7th Meiyu, laughed. Brother Dongbua is actually the last one to come out. Furthermore, he isn't injured at all. I'm impressed. Coming out the last one doesn't mean that he's the best. We'll know when the rankings are out, Dongbua Ying said. Chapter 445. Calm Sea Prefecture Capital, within Dongbua Ying's cave abode in the Bloodshed Domain. Jing Qiu and the other deities of the Xia people were all gathered here, all concerned about the ranking battle for the Myriad Flower Feast. I wonder how Dongbua is doing now. This scroll world seems to be very dangerous. The Cloud Sea Emperor raised his head and looked at the distant sky. He could see the huge scroll in the sky, and occasionally, he could see figures being expelled from the scroll. Blood splattered everywhere, and occasionally, miserable screams could be heard. This caused the hearts of the Cloud Sea Emperor and the others to tighten. Don't worry. Dongbua is very powerful. He won't have any problems in the ranking battle. Even in the worst-case scenario, Dongbua is still a lord of a material realm. The Dragon Mountain Emperor laughed heartily. That's right, I can easily cultivate another avatar. What nonsense are you spouting? The Purple Thunder Emperor glared. How could anything happen to Dongbua? In this ranking battle, Dongbua is going to become the disciple of a powerful existence. Old brother Purple Thunder, I was wrong. I was wrong. I will accept my punishment. The Dragon Mountain Emperor hurriedly picked up the wine cup beside him and gulped it down. The Purple Thunder Emperor laughed as well. Dragon Mountain, is this what you call accepting your punishment? This wine is made by Dongbua himself, and I heard from Dongbua that he obtained it from the Crimson Rock Mountain. The Dragon Mountain Emperor chuckled. Jing Qiu watched from the side, but she was constantly observing the huge scroll in the sky. Suddenly, she stood up. Look! It's Dongbua! Dongbua! Everyone turned to look. They were all deities, so they could clearly see that the figure being expelled was indeed Dongbua Ying. Dongbua Ying was not injured at all. At this moment, a sonorous voice rang out. The 12th batch has ended. Following which, they saw Dongbua Ying descend. Ha, Dongbua is the last one to come out of the 12th batch. The last one to come out might be the one who killed the most enemies. Yes, yes, yes. Look at Dongbua. In the end, he didn't have any injuries on his body. He didn't even have any bloodstains. The Xia people heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Dongbua Shuang coming out alive. Although they thought that the possibility of Dongbua dying inside was extremely low, they still couldn't be at ease until they saw him with their own eyes. This is only the 12th batch. Looks like the ranking battle will take at least another day. One of the muscular Xia people, Monarch Fiery Tiger, said hurriedly, and now that Dongbua has come out, there's nothing to see. Are we just going to wait here foolishly? How about, we go out for a walk? After arriving at the Calm Sea Prefecture city, I didn't even have the time to take a good look around before coming here. Go out and take a look. Brother Fierce Tiger, where is this place? This is the prefecture city. Calm Sea Prefecture capital. Even world deities are nothing here. There are plenty of people with powerful backgrounds. The descendants of powerful existences, the descendants of the Calm Sea Prefecture master, or even the heirs of foreign empires, they might not have much of a future in terms of cultivation, but they are top-notch when it comes to harming others, Yunhai said. When we first arrived, we saw some of the descendants of the luxurious clans roaming about in carriages, but they seemed to be quite well behaved. You're wrong. Monarch Scarlet Flame, who had a saber strapped to his back, coldly said, since we're following the group participating in the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, it's only natural that no one would dare to offend us. But if we go out alone, we'll have to be obedient and keep a low profile. Although the descendants of the luxurious clans here are much more well-behaved than those in the capital cities of the Starfield, if they're in the mood to capture 8 or 10 deities and engage in a bloody battle, if they happen to capture you, you'll be in trouble. Ah! Monarch Fiery Tiger was dumbfounded. After all, this was his first time coming to the prefecture city. Under normal circumstances, it's a rare chance for us to come to the prefecture city, and it's fine to take a little risk, Monarch Scarlet Flame indifferently said. But now, we're following Dongbua. Dongbua's future is limitless. It won't be long before we, who follow him, will be accepted into the Bloodshed God Palace. We'll have a higher rank. When that time comes, our statuses will be different. Why would you want to go out now? Oh. Fierce Tiger nodded. Of the group of Xia people present, with the exception of a few who were reluctant to leave their territories in the deity world, the majority were willing to follow Dongbua Shuang. The more they experienced, the more they understood how rare it was to be able to follow Dongbua Shuang. To this, Dongbua Shuang was very welcoming. The deeper he established himself in the deity world, the more helpers he would need. The ancestral deities of the Xia people were naturally the most suitable. Furthermore, Dongbua Shuang was very happy to be able to help the ancestral deities of the Xia people. More than a day passed. Jing Qiu and the other deities of the Xia people had mostly stayed in their caverns. At most, they would stroll around the Bloodshed region. Soon, they discovered Dongbua Ying's return. The ranking battles were over, and they all returned. Brother Dongbua's combat power is superb. It'll be easy for him to pass the ranking battles, and he might even be able to enter the Bloodshed God Palace. Ah, you're overpraising me. Even if the two of you fail, it'll be easy for you to enter the Bloodshed God Palace and obtain a higher rank. Furthermore, the ranking battles haven't been decided yet, so anything is possible. Dongbua Shuang and the other two deities walked side by side as they chatted. Soon, they separated and flew back to their own caverns. Dongbua Shuang flew back to his own caverns. Snow Eagle. Dongbua. Jing Qiu and the others were all waiting at the entrance to welcome Dongbua Shuang. How was it? Jing Qiu asked. How did the ranking battles of the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast go? It was alright. Dongbua Shuang nodded. I'm confident of getting into the top 1000. He was modest in front of others, but Dongbua Shuang didn't care too much about it in front of his friends and family. We'll have to wait 3 days for the detailed ranking battles. Yunhai shook his head from the side. Since the battles have ended, the ranking battles should have been decided easily. Yet we're still waiting 3 days for it to be announced. Dongbua Shuang laughed. Firstly, we'll have to rewind time and check the previous battles to make sure there's no violation of the rules. Secondly, we'll have to find out who has potential, so that we can better allocate the rewards for the arena battles. I've heard that information on those with high potential will be sent to the Bloodshed God Palace. They'll also investigate their past experiences. Those with high potential will be sent to the Bloodshed God Palace. And they'll even investigate their past experiences. Everyone was startled. Dongbua Shuang laughed. He'd only found out about this from the treasure spirit, Crimson Rock. Right. Dongbua Shuang nodded. For instance, those who've never cultivated world deity-ranked secret techniques yet have high comprehension abilities will be at a disadvantage. The arena battles will definitely be arranged well. Furthermore, during the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast, His Majesty and other powerful existences will be spectating. If they fancy someone and want to take him in as a disciple, they'll naturally want to know the details. The Bloodshed God Palace will naturally have to collect information beforehand. His own information would most likely be collected as well. In the eyes of the Xia people, everything from his birth, his entry into Crimson Rock Mountain, his killing of the Sorcerer God and Great Sorcerer God's avatars, World Deity Wahai's avatars, and even his entry into the deity world would be investigated. Of course, he'd never divulged anything about his Grade 1 true meaning. If the Temporal Temple were to investigate with all their might, they might be able to find out, but even if they did, it couldn't leak it. As a treasure spirit, it had to follow the rules. Someone with high comprehension abilities yet never cultivated a world deity-ranked secret technique? The Purple Thunder Emperor shook his head. Such cases are rare. Any transcendent with high talent would immediately attract attention, let alone someone who has become a deity. There was no need to even mention becoming a deity. Those with extremely high comprehension abilities after becoming a deity would have long since been discovered and taken in by some major powers. Many of them have even become stage 4 world deities or become disciples of powerful existences. Amen. There are many disciples of powerful existences during the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast, Dongbua Shuang said. Those who did not become world deities, even if they were disciples of powerful existences, they would only be honorary disciples, or at most inner disciples. Their statuses were relatively low. Of course, Grade 1 true meaning transcendents were an exception. Powerful existences would treat Grade 1 true meaning transcendents as their most beloved children and nurture them with all their might. Although Dongbua Shuang would occasionally accompany Jing Qiu and the deities of the Xia people, he spent most of his time meditating. This ranking battle had indeed given him many inspirations, especially the chaotic suppression. He had also begun to comprehend it, working hard to perfect it. 3 days was truly too short a period of time in cultivation. Without even sensing the passage of time, Dongbua Shuang heard his wife's voice from outside. Snow Eagle, come out quickly. The ranking has been announced. Jing Qiu shouted. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.